Hello, everyone. Omni-sensei here with What If I Was Reborn as the Ultimate Spider-Man, Part 2. If you enjoy this content, smash the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out the original story linked in the description.
Parker residence. Yawn, morning already? That means school, I mumbled, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. Man, when did I even get back home after the bank heist? The weekend had been exhausting. A whirlwind of intense training, crime fighting, investigations, studying, and work. I'd finally had a chance to unwind, even squeezing in some time to shop for fresh clothes since my wardrobe was down to a few wearable pairs. Mondays were universally dreaded, and that sentiment didn't change for Peter Parker, powers or no powers. Fully awake now, I reached over to grab my computer, a custom build I'd put together using tech from Horizon. Yes, I built a new computer, because why not? After a few moments of tinkering on my computer, I heard Uncle Ben's familiar footsteps ascending the stairs. Joe, sleepyhead, time to wake up, or you'll miss the bus. Came the unmistakable voice of the legendary Ben Parker from the hallway. I smiled at his usual wake-up routine. Okay, Uncle Ben. Good morning, I called back. If he had come into the room, he would have seen my screen displaying one of my newest algorithms. I was working on a more advanced AI, something that could eventually surpass Gideon. All right, kiddo, hurry down, Uncle Ben replied. I decided to let the AI finish loading and headed downstairs for breakfast. As always, Aunt May was there waiting with a big plate of food, her cheerful energy lighting up the room. Good morning, Peter, she greeted him with a warm smile. And good morning to you too, Aunt May, I replied, grinning back. You seem full of energy today. What's going on? Did you stay out late working again? She asked, her voice tinged with her usual concern. This was our routine, Aunt May constantly worrying about me overworking myself, always insisting I focus on school first. I'm brimming with energy today, Aunt May, so you don't need to worry so much. I'll be fine, I reassured her. Well, all right, she said with a slight sigh. Hurry up and eat or you'll be late. And for the record, I'll always worry about you. That's my job. Aunt May had this extraordinary way of making everyone feel cared for, as if she were the unofficial guardian of the whole neighborhood. After finishing breakfast, I headed back to my room to check on two things: my AI and a pair of glasses I'd been working on. The glasses were one of my latest inventions, a sleek device capable of housing an AI system. When worn by an authorized user, they allow full access to the AI's myriad functions. At the moment, they were still a work in progress, and the AI itself didn't even have a proper name. Sasha? May?
Sexy?
Ugh, I don't want to be unoriginal, and I can't use Karen either, I muttered, frustrated with my lack of creativity. I definitely don't want a guy's voice in my head, though. After a moment of thought, inspiration struck. Rika. Yeah, that works. Simple, sleek, and to the point. Rika it is. With the final touches on both the sunglasses and my newly named AI complete, I got dressed and prepared for school. Honestly, school felt unnecessary at this point. I had the knowledge and credentials to attend college, and that was before I started working at Horizon Labs. But my guardians insisted I stay in high school to develop social skills and make friends my age. The irony of that wasn't lost on me, considering most of my interactions there involved getting bullied. The real reason I kept attending was to protect my identity as Spider-Man. Keeping Peter Parker and Spider-Man separate was critical until I was sure I could safeguard everyone I cared about. Then maybe I'd pull an Iron Man and reveal it all to the world. Or, no, definitely not. That's way too reckless, even for me. I slipped on the glasses, which looked like regular sunglasses until the lenses transitioned into their transparent mode. Staring at my reflection, I noticed a slight Clark Kent vibe going on, brown hair, glasses and all. As I watched the system boot up, Rika's interface came to life, displaying stats and various windows. The upload process was finally underway. Good morning, Mr. Parker. Rika spoke with a serene grace. I smiled at her voice and responded. Good morning, Rika. And you don't need to call me Mr. Parker. Peter's fine, I said back to my Rika. I understand, Peter. You should also know that the bus will arrive in 1 minute. Rika said, and I nodded, heading outside to be picked up. Oh, and Rika, I said before entering the bus. Stay muted until after school, or unless I say your name. Also, record everything that happens today as well. Give me a background check on everyone I meet today and have it sent to my computer. Acknowledge. Have a great day, Peter. I nodded and went inside the bus. When I got on the bus, I couldn't help but notice MJ sitting with Liz. Of course, MJ would hang out with the popular kid. I thought to myself, a girl took Peter's usual seat on the bus I didn't even know. So I was forced to sit next to a redhead girl who looked oddly familiar to Jean Grey. After comparing looks, she seemed like a shy girl, but that was definitely Jean. I guess people didn't really talk to her before. Usually, Cindy Moon sat here, but I didn't see her on the bus. She usually rode the bus every day with Peter and the rest. I guess Ezekiel got to her. Damn. I guess that's fine. At least she is safe. I thought to myself, I'll need to set her free at some point, but with setting her free, I'll need to prepare for Moreland sooner than expected. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. Getting out of my thoughts, I then looked around the bus for more of Peter's friends. Gwen Stacy wasn't on the bus either, it seems. Thinking for a second, I was about to ask Rika to find Gwen Stacy before it hit me. She was probably in Eddie's new car. It was a 2-seat convertible, but it got the job done. It was why Eddie asked him to come over this weekend to show it off. He got it for his birthday since his birthday was also in August, like mine. Harry was missing as well, but that was normal for both him and Peter. He did have a limo for himself. Norman and even his mom, Emily, constantly asked him if they could send one for him, but he always politely declined. Times like this, though, I wish I had a car to drive myself. Aunt May didn't have a car. She usually rode with a lady who insisted I call her Aunt Anna, which was strange, seeing as Aunt Anna wasn't my aunt. Whatever, Uncle Ben had a car for himself to ride to work and back, and that's it. Before shaking my head. Forget about all that unnecessary stuff. Focus, dude, on what's in front of me. I thought aloud to myself as I looked towards the redhead. Jean freaking Grey. One of, not if, the strongest psychics in the Marvel Universe. Having her on my side will be amazing. I need to befriend her before her mutant ability awakens so I can even help her with that. And to also study the Phoenix in the future. I then sat next to her. Hello? I said with a warm smile. She looked a little startled by the sudden greeting. My name is Peter Parker. What's yours? I asked as if I didn't already know the future host of the Phoenix. It's Jean Grey, she said a little nervously. Her nervous reply took me aback. But then again, this is a high school girl who was more in the background than Peter Parker was, if Peter didn't even notice her. Well, nice to meet you, Jean. After exchanging greetings, I started small talk. So, Jean, how was your summer vacation? I asked and kept trying to befriend the current shut-in. After a while, we continued to talk to each other. Jean started getting more involved in conservation, and much of her nervousness went away. After the bus stop, we made it to school. Hey, see you later at school, Jean, I said. She looks happy. That turned out well. The first thing I see when I get out of the bus and head to school is Gwen Stacy waiting for me at the entrance. I thought you would make me wait for it the last time, Mr. Parker, she said to me with an all-knowing smirk. I smiled back, which must have been the Peter Parker in me. I don't want being late to be a habit of mine, Miss Stacy, I said, then continued. But not all of us have a partner, let alone a partner with a car. Gwen Stacy, I met her a year after Harry. At this point, Harry, Gwen, and Eddie are childhood friends. Gwen is also a fellow nerd, except for one little detail. She doesn't look like a nerd at all. She was too beautiful to be a nerd, to say the least. No wonder the original Peter Parker fell in love. But I'm not him, well, not all of him. I may have fallen in love if I didn't have my eyes set on multiple women of interest. Gwen and I started heading into the school and headed for the classroom. On the way, we see the popular crowd with Flash, MJ, Harry, Sally, Liz, Hobie, Kong, Kenny, Glory, Roby, etc. Flash was talking to Kong, but soon spotted me. "Parker," he yelled as Flash walked towards me. The popular crowd turned to look at me. Gwen is about to jump in to tell Flash off for bullying me. MJ looks on sorrowfully while the rest look like the typical bully crew, except for 3 people. Harry is in the middle. He is friends with me but also dislikes me because of his parents. Roby and Hobie are just neutral and nice. A few people in the school look towards Flash and me, thinking Flash is about to tear me a new one. Gwen likes that she is ready to tear Flash a new one, too. I slide her back slightly and confront Flash on my own. Gwen was surprised that he did that, but soon regained herself. Peter was always the weakest in the group of friends. "Sup, Flash?" I said nonchalantly. Everyone was a little shocked, but it was about seeing what Flash was about to do to me. "Parker, dude, why didn't you tell me you'd be on the bus? I would have driven us to school instead of letting you ride the bus," he said, sending shocked expressions throughout the hallway. Even Roby and Hobie were shocked, and so were Gwen and MJ. "Rika, please be recording their faces, please." "Nah, I was planning on skipping school but decided against it," I said after a few more shock gasps. "If I plan on making a superhero team, why not Agent Venom? Flash might be an idiot, but he is an idiot who will change and become a soldier. For better or worse, then later Agent Venom." How did I do that? Well, quite simply, I first met Flash at his home and discussed a deal with him, where I gave him all the answers to work and game strategies to try during games. Peter and Flash were childhood friends before they went their separate ways. But we made up and became friends again, and stopped bullying as much. I also planned to help with his studies when I had the chance. After a quick conversation, we went our separate ways. I waved towards MJ and Harry, then left with Gwen towards our first class together. "I'll talk to Harry later." "What was that?" Gwen asked cautiously, while I just looked at her and stared. Confused? "Nope, just testing the water. Peter is Flash. I don't even know what Flash is doing to understand why you're so buddy-buddy with that idiot," Gwen said. I then explained the whole situation. She looked surprised by my made-up strategy and how it helped make Flash my friend instead of my bully. I didn't tell her about being Spider-Man, though, or giving him answers. That can wait a while. "I thought I was the smarter one between us two," she said, and I just smiled and nodded. "Yeah, I know. You really thought that, huh?" I said with an ever-growing grin on my face as she understood my statement and went after me. "What was that, Peter?" she yelled after me as I sped to class. "Nothing, Miss Stacy," as we both ran into science class together. In my first period, I had science with Dr. Miles Warren, a cloning expert who was forced to teach here at Midtown Academy after a lab accident that killed his blonde wife. He often said Gwen looked a lot like her. Gwen and I were his favorite students. They were the only ones he didn't have to dumb down what he was saying to the rest of the class. I was currently staring off into space, trying to figure out a way to kill Moreland and save Cindy without dying, when Dr. Warren got my attention. I was seated at the back of the class today in front of a large window so I could think without being disturbed. "Mr. Parker, can you please tell the class the answer to the last question?" Dr. Warren smirked as if he had caught me doing something he shouldn't, namely, not paying attention in class. Back before I was here, Peter would daydream about Gwen, MJ, or even Sally as his girlfriend, and not pay attention only to get called out for it. Anything that is in motion tends to stay in motion unless another outside force tries to stop it from moving. I spoke, not looking away from the window, but people close to me could see a small smirk. "And how did you come up with that answer, Mr. Parker?" "Judging from the time of year it is, you could only be going over last year's ending material regarding the opening chapters of the textbook. So you had to be going over Newton's law. It's the only thing that aligns with the first 3 chapters of this year's updated textbook, and given how far we are into class, you must have been going over the laws. Also, your first question always goes to the kid who isn't paying attention, and I realize that that is currently me," I said with an analytic expression. The entire class looked stunned, including Gwen, who looked thoughtful, and Harry, who looked amazed and a little jealous of my intellect. Harry Osborn, you have only two choices, the hero or the villain. Sometime later, now in chemistry. I was now in chemistry where I would usually be a partner with Gwen. However, we didn't get to pick partners. We were then put in partners. Liz got MJ, thank God. Gwen Stacy got partnered with Jean, lucky. While I got a girl named Tandy, which sounds oddly familiar. Wait a minute, Tandy? As in Tandy Bowen? As in Dagger? As in Cloak and Dagger? Two superheroes who get kidnapped and become superheroes? Has she got her powers yet? Probably not, seeing that she looks a little gothic or emo. While I was observing her and her other half, Tandy looked at me and scoffed. Stop acting like a perverted idiot. And do your weird geek stuff already, asshole, she said angrily. Okay. Bitch, you got my full attention, I thought to myself, showing an angry face before restraining myself. I know getting angry won't get me anywhere in this, so ignore her earlier comment and move on. With a bit of annoyance, she and I got to work. She did too well. What is going on? Why is she so good at preparing grams? Which is very worrisome. I don't know the full story of every superhero, so I don't know if this is a part of her story or not. I have to be careful, but I have to ask to make sure she is all right. You are very good at preparing grams with a knife, too good even. I know it's not very subtle, but I had to ask. Shut up. You loser, she said with venom and anger. Welp, that proves it. She is on drugs. What the hell, Marvel Comics? Why are there so many horrible events in the Marvel Universe? Still better than DC though. I soon finished everything I needed to do, and then after a few minutes, class ended. I sigh, glad this class is over for now. I'll worry about Tandy later. I need to focus more on Jean than a drug addict right now, I thought in my head. I was just about to leave when the person with an addiction pulled me in and stopped me from leaving. She kept me there until we were the only two left in the classroom. Great, just great. Had to egg on the person with an addiction. I could leave things alone, couldn't I? Nope. I had this coming now, didn't I? Parker. Luck. Sucked. What do you want? Need me to do your homework or something? Then I'm sorry. I'm busy with my job, so you'll have to get a different nerd to help, I said with a smug smile. If I act smug, she will only get angrier. The angrier your opponent, the easier they are to predict. I know your type, Parker, she said dangerously towards me, and I couldn't help but smirk at that. She looked even angrier towards me when she saw me smirk at her. Well, if you know my type, then I'm sorry. You must have heard wrong, I said with a calm expression before turning into a mischievous grin. You're just one of my many types. Brown, black, blonde, and redheads are all my types, so you'll have to excuse my tastes, but you're one of many. She looked even more pissed at me, like she was trying to, murder me. If you speak, I'll tell everyone you tried to grape me. My eyes shot open before I composed myself. Can't let her take control of the situation. She is bluffing and has no proof. You're crazy. Even if you falsely excuse me, you have no proof, I said with my confidence returned.
I'm Peter Parker.
I have an IQ of 410. No way someone like Dagger could ever. Before I could think about it anymore, Tandy approached me and took my hand and put it on her chest. My gaze was neutral and flat. That didn't just happen. I was so careless. I should have taken this more seriously at the time. What do you think you're doing? I asked with my face being neutral. Proof, you said I needed proof, so I'm not falsely accused. Thanks for telling me, by the way, she said with the most evil smirk that would make my future villains and Mephisto proud. This isn't happening right now. She then lets go of my hand and leaves with a smile on her face. If she had waited a little longer, she would have seen my smile as I then looked towards the door before speaking a beautiful word. This didn't just happen. Rika. My eyes shot open before closing them shortly. I asked her name out softly. Rika. Yes, Peter. Are you still recording? And if you are, did you get that? A few seconds go by before my AI speaks. Yes, I did, Peter. Rika then pulled up an image of Tandy Bowen taking my hand and putting it on her bosom. What's next, Peter? Should I send this to the principal and the police along with her parents? I just smiled happily, like an evil villain who just won this game. A game for world dominance, that is. Though I'm the hero here, so I gotta do what's right. No, not yet, I said with a smirk. I want to hold on to this for later. I wasn't planning on meeting Tandy or helping her. But now she is on the top 5 list to deal with. She is going to get my help, even if she doesn't want it. This bitch shouldn't have made me question myself like that. She is going to get a reality check. If not by me, then by my mother. As I then look out of the classroom to see her turn the corner. A smile on my face for my new quest. School just got a whole lot more interesting. School cafeteria. After the events in chemistry and Tandy, I was in the cafeteria sitting with a group that consisted of me, Harry, Gwen, and usually Eddie, but he graduated already. Tandy Bowen. What is her story? Is it Silvermane who would give her powers? Or would it be like the Spider-Man 2017 show? Wait, was Silvermane the reason in Spider-Man 2017 and the reason she got the power? I should have watched the Cloak and Dagger show or read the comics. Before I could continue with my thoughts about the future Dagger. So Pete. Harry spoke. I heard my name be called. I looked towards Peter, my friend, with a curious look. From his facial expression, he seemed to be worried for me. Harry asked me a question, concerned about me. Why have you been acting so? Not you. I'm fine. Nothing to be worried about, I said nonchalantly, with a fake smile on my face. I just want to go back to my world and read about Cloak and Dagger stories or watch the TV show. Or even the cameos she had in other TV shows like Ultimate Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2017. Are you sure about that, Peter? Gwen spoke up as well, worried about my new attitude. Not surprising seeing that she truly cares for Peter. Gwen asked, more like questioned, next about my glasses. I also don't remember you wearing such big glasses? Yep, I'm sure I'm fine. So you don't need to worry, and the glasses are because I broke my last pair. I said, but honestly, I have no reason to be here besides the girls here and the allies I could make. Honestly, by lunch, I was wondering why Peter even bothered with school. He was smart enough to start college anytime he wanted. But no, his aunt and uncle didn't want him to succeed in life and wanted him to make friends who would sleep with the Green Goblin, and the other became the Goblin Addict. Speaking of addicts, I then looked all around the cafeteria. I spotted Tandy and immediately moved my eyes anywhere else. I deal with her when the time comes, but that time isn't now. I then look towards 2 other females who look vaguely familiar. Is that Jessica Jones and Michelle Jones? I can't really tell from looks alone. Every comic book character's style changes from artist to artist. From what I remember, Jessica was an adult and a PI. This could be the comic book version. Then I won't know much about her, except for finding Kilgrave and beating him to a bloody pulp. Thoughts for later, I suppose. Then spotting a certain redhead. Mary Jane Watson. From memory, she is currently dating Flash, but I also believe she will be interested in me later. Whatever, I will deal with later, I suppose. Suddenly, I felt like a chill was going down my spine. Gwen must have spotted my look towards MJ and responded. Humph, look at Mary Jane with the popular crowd and forget we even existed. Talk about shallow friendship. I know that she was just saying that, but even I couldn't stand the sight of them. All the positive feelings I had with MJ turned bitter quick. Wow, I'm talking like I was in high school and my crush just ditched me for my best friend. I know this isn't really me talking, but Peter's emotions as well. It still hurts to see them all together like that. Regardless if this is Peter's or mine, I quickly shook this feeling away. I don't need them guiding my focus and mind, though, especially if they're Peter's feelings. I need to stay focused. I then continued to survey until my eyes landed on another redhead, Jean Grey. I made an excuse to my friends and waved bye before going to pursue conversation with her once more. Hey Jean, I said, gaining the redhead's attention. She seemed surprised to see me, but I could also see the happiness in her eyes to see me talking to her again. Mind if I join you for lunch? Yes, sure you can, she said with a stuttering mess. Thanks, Jean. I was thinking about that chemistry assignment. Do you find it as confusing as most of the class does? I asked, curious about her point of view. Oh, definitely. The periodic table might as well be written in another language. How are you approaching it? You are the smartest kid, so how do you do it? She asked me, knowing Peter Parker is the smartest kid in class. I get that. Maybe try understanding the patterns instead of just memorizing. It's like a puzzle. Once you see the connections, it becomes clearer for you to understand, I said, giving her advice on the subject. That makes sense. I'll give it a shot. On a different note, any plans for the weekend? Jean asks, curious about what I do for the weekend. Probably hitting the gym, trying not to turn into a total king of nerds. I joked. Oh, please. You can be both fit and brainy. No need to choose, Jean said to reassure me. You're right, Jean. Best of both worlds. Huh. That is my plan for the future, I said with a smile. What are you doing this weekend then, Jean? Not really. Just catching up on some reading. Ding, ding. The lunch bell soon rang, and Jean and I said our goodbyes. After lunch was over, I began to hang out with Harry. So, Pete, you got a girlfriend and didn't even tell me? Harry said as he wrapped his arm around my neck and hung his arm over my shoulders. And all I can say is it's about time. I liked this version of Harry Osborn. Although his dad was still a real piece of work, he hadn't yet become the Goblin. He would at least like to avoid Norman becoming the Green Goblin altogether. But call me crazy, but something tells me nothing can stop the Goblin's birth from happening. Heck, even if Norman were to die and Harry too, I believe another one would just take their place. Hell, they might even be worse. Back to Harry. This version of Harry was mine and Gwen's best friend, and he had been since grade school. One day, Peter helped Harry study for the entrance exams for this school, which led him to pass. Norman Osborn found out and thanked Peter but showed little interest in his own son's achievements and was focused on complimenting Peter's genius, while still ignoring his son. Ever since then, Harry has always resented Peter a little, but not enough to stop being friends. Which was good. I didn't need a best friend with daddy issues. Sometimes Harry can want his dad's respect. Sometimes Harry should just kill Norman. Don't get me wrong, I know sometimes Norman loves his son, but ultimately Harry really should have taken his life more seriously and kicked his father's ass. Which just gave me an idea. Some time later, we now are in class as we sat in class. I continued to talk with Harry throughout most of the period. We mainly joke. This also made me want to take back my earlier comment about the friends thing. I then began to put my plan into action and suggest a study group. Harry, do you want to start a study group? I asked him with interior motives. This would give me both closer proximity to Harry and access to Oscorp all at the same time. I could also build Harry up to be more confident with his father. Why would I do that when instead we could go to parties? Harry said back with a smile. With all honesty, that didn't sound so bad. But this is the Marvel Universe, so it had to wait after I was prepared for what is to come. Okay, then I'll give you 3 answers, Har, I said before coming up with 3 in a matter of seconds. Harry, you were my best friend. I don't want you to get good or great grades, but amazing grades. And before you say, did my dad put you up to this? Then I'll save you some time and say no. I didn't think that for a second. Harry replied back, showing a little hurt expression, which was fake and I could tell. Yes, sure you didn't, I said while trying to hold and failing my smile. Haha, whatever. What with this all of a sudden? Harry laughed and then asked his closest friend. Harry, you know I love science, right? He looked at me like I just said the dumbest thing to him. Okay, yeah, I know, dumb question. Who is the smartest person you know? You. It's not even a contest. Harry replied that it sounded more like a matter-of-fact tone instead of an answer. Thanks, but Harry, you can become just as smart as me if you try, I said. Harry looked uncertain. Harry, how long are you going to live off of Norman's money? Hey, he yelled, getting everyone's attention. We just waved them off and continued with our conservation. Pete, seriously, what are you saying? Showing concern for my best buddy. You're very smart, Harry. If you just forget about your dad and do this for yourself, you can excel at your studies just as well as I can. I just know it. I don't know about that, Pete. You and my dad are just too gifted for people like me to match. Harry replied like a statement. Harry, I want you to get interested in something you like, not something for you to compete against. Like your mother's research is a good start. I've read up on climate projects. She's a freaking genius, Harry. And so can you be as well, I said. Harry looks a little moved. One more push. When you go home today, just ask her about her work and join in on any one of her projects. Or maybe you want to become the next Tony Stark and become a mechanical, electronic, and electrical engineer. I saw you look at technology with interest before, so don't lie to me. The study group I want is for my friend for a very good reason. I want us to be friends for a very long time to come. Okay, Harry. Harry looked at me with a serious expression. I may have gone too far, but I needed to do what I needed to. Most universes have Harry's mom be dead or in the background, but in this universe, like Insomniac, his mom is a genius in plastic-eating fungi research. Also in Insomniac, she dies, but Harry carries on her legacy, which put Harry as genius in that universe, and I want Harry to be a good guy and not some crazy goblin of the week. There was also a version of Harry in Marvel Spider-Man 2017, which had Harry invent all the Goblin's weapons and gear, which was a change from normal but was different even from what I was used to. Harry had a lot of potential to become one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe, surpassing Tony Stark. Easily top 5 with enough time and research, in my terrible opinion. Finally breaking the silence, Harry says, "Fine, you win, Pete, but only for 2 hours, you hear?" I then shook his hand. I smiled, and he did as well. Of course, you don't want to keep yourself and your imaginary girlfriend waiting. Now do we? We both laugh at my terrible joke. School ends. After school, Harry and I headed to the library to study for 2 hours. Harry had some difficulties, but we soon got over them. I was trying to improve his memory, as he complained about having to read the same thing over and over again. Harry, listen. You have to train your body like a muscle. The more you repeat something, the more likely you won't need to do something again, I said with my glasses shining against the light. Imagine not needing to study for a test, but just remembering the subject altogether. That does sound nice, but this is just so boring, Harry said with boredom before getting back to work. I know, but it needs to be done, my friend, I replied. But we can do this, you and me. We will make you the next Tony Stark. I promise. He laughed a little before focusing on his work again. Tony Stark? Yeah, right. Harry spoke softly, thinking I wouldn't be able to hear. Yeah, right, Har, I said just as softly. 2 hours later. See ya, Pete. Harry waved as he got in his limo. I smiled and waved back to him. CEO, Har. Again tomorrow, right? I yell, and he sighs and nods his head before taking off. After leaving and going our separate ways, I began to activate Rika. Rika, give me a report on everyone here today that I met or set my eyes on beside Harry, MJ, Gwen, and everyone in the popular crowd, I said with Rika before responding. Okay, Peter, Rika said before continuing. First is Jean Grey. Jean Grey is the youngest daughter of Elaine Grey and Professor John Grey. She and her older sister, Sarah, were raised in a farmhouse near Bard College in Annandale-on-Hudson, New York, where her father taught history. They, however, moved closer for a higher pay. When she was young and her best friend died, she said that she felt what she felt when she died. After that day, she was a quiet kid and went unnoticed in the background of school. I took this all in and began to think to myself, isn't Jean supposed to be taken to see a psychiatrist, then later Professor Charles Xavier? No, wait, Charles's school has just opened up, I believe. Their only members are Logan and Storm. Another possibility is Jean's powers didn't fully awaken and it wasn't sensed by Cerebro yet. I need to hang out with her more in the future, and if her power fully manifests, or more like when I need to be ready. But I only have so much time left and need to hurry. Okay then. Thank you for the information, Rika. Who's next? Tandy Bowen. Tandy Bowen was born in Shaker Heights, Ohio, an affluent suburb of Cleveland. Bowen's mother, Melissa, was a celebrated and self-centered model who had become rich not only from her own career, but also from receiving her previous husband's estate. Tandy's father had left for India seeking spiritual rebirth. Subsequently, Melissa married Philip Carlyle. Although kind, Tandy was still hurt by her father's leaving and did not accept Philip. Her mother also neglected her. She later fell into a drug habit, which prompted her to be moved to New York with her grandmother. So she really is a drug addict through and through. From the sounds of things, she really needs someone to care for her. I'll need to talk to her and try to help her before she gets kidnapped. I also need to find Tyrone. I don't want him by himself on the streets to just get nabbed and experimented on either. Thank you, Rika. Also find a Tyrone Johnson when you have the chance. Understood, Peter. Searching for Tyrone Johnson will be in the background. Thank you again, Rika. You may continue with the report. Michelle Jones. Michelle Jones is a normal girl but is exceptionally smart. She currently lives with her mother, Alia Jones, who was divorced by her former husband. She is a normal civilian and runs a small cafe to support herself and her daughter. Michelle likes to draw and prefers her time spent sleeping over working. Her IQ score reads 257. So that was Zendaya playing Michelle Jones? Wasn't that the name of Zendaya when she played MJ in Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies? So there are two MJs walking around. Interesting. Her IQ is higher than 616 Spider-Man's Peter Parker. That is amazing. I will need to befriend her in the future for help. Jessica Campbell. Jessica lives with her mother, Elisa Jones, who is a private detective and is one of the best in New York. There is no information about her father according to the data I have gathered. Jessica doesn't know much herself about her father and actively avoids the topic as much as she can. But what makes her interesting is that during a school trip when she was in junior high, there was an accident and she was in a coma for a brief period. What exactly happened is unclear, but there are rumors that include the words radioactive and experiment. She is also in the same grade as you as well. Parents: Mrs. Campbell/Jones, mother, alive. Dave Campbell, father, unknown. Jessica Campbell, Jones? Luke Cage's baby mama, the one who knew Peter from high school. I knew I saw her. She attended Midtown High School along with Peter Parker, where they shared several classes. She developed a crush on Peter, but never told him. I'm sorry, Luke. You're one of my favorite characters, but I will not let her go to waste. And I'm so sorry. Also need to deal with that creep Kilgrave as well. All right, Rika, who's next? But before I could get my answer, my phone rang. I got a message from Gwen. Peter, are you ready for the field trip to Osborn's company in few weeks? A little confused, I sent her a message back. What are you talking about? It was decided in class today, but maybe you didn't listen to it because you were busy talking to your new friend, the smug blonde. Just get ready for it. Jealous? As if, oh, Eddie will be there because of Kana and Osborn's project together with Oscorp. Interesting. Thanks for the insight, lovely Gwen. Was that a Ben 10 Alien Force reference? I then put my phone down and began to come up with a plan. Before then, asking Rika, why didn't you tell me about this trip to Oscorp? Because you never told me to Peter. Rika replied, I was told to record and replay information back to you. Also send this back to your home computer. Right, Rika isn't that developed like Jarvis or Friday yet. She still needs a few kinks before she is ready to compete with AIs like that. True, she followed my words to perfection, but I need an AI that helps all around. Which also brought me back to reality Oscorp a few weeks. This is sooner than expected, but this does give me an opportunity in their systems and to see what they have on me and Green Goblin as well. Until then, I need to start making preparations not just for myself, but also for Rika. This is going to be a long day and night. Current location, warehouse. I was in the warehouse focused on training. With my visit to Oscorp coming up soon, I needed to make sure I was prepared for whatever might come my way. While I waited for Rika to finish gathering information on someone for me, I figured I'd put my downtime to good use. Looking around, I spotted a few I-beams and decided to stack them together. Weight training was my go-to for building the strength and stamina I'd need as Spider-Man. Picking up over 800 pounds of steel, I began doing bench presses. This method worked for now, but it wasn't challenging enough. I scanned the warehouse for something heavier. That's when I found an ALCO locomotive. It weighed a staggering 150 metric tons, far beyond what I could lift in one piece. Determined, I disassembled it and hauled the parts back to the warehouse, bit by bit. I left the reassembled version at about 1/9 of its original weight. It wasn't ideal, but it gave me something I could bench without immediately crushing myself. 78, 79, 80. Done. I exhaled and set the beam down carefully. Without a spotter, I couldn't afford to push too far. Next up, agility training. For agility, parkour and gymnastics were the way to go. I double-checked that all the doors and windows were secured. Couldn't risk someone catching me mid-flip. All right, time to move. I leaped into action, springing from wall to floor to ceiling, never stopping. I used every surface to keep myself in motion, bouncing from point to point in a relentless flow. After 30 minutes of this non-stop movement, I finally came to a halt, my body buzzing with energy. Next was speed training. I braced myself and took off at full tilt, hitting my top speed of 55 miles per hour as I sprinted laps around the warehouse. The repetitive motion burned through my energy reserves, but I pushed through. Soon enough, I recovered as if I hadn't even broken a sweat. By the time I finished my session, it was 6 a.m. School started at 7:45, which gave me just enough time to get ready. Grabbing my costume, I decided to web swing my way home. It was faster and a lot more fun than running. Time to swing, I said, launching myself into the air. A few minutes later, finally making it home, and I only had to stop one petty criminal. Right now it's only 6:17, and I'm having a great time right now. Web swinging always took my mind off of things. It left me focused but also at ease. No worries at all.
No travels.
No fear. I then made a few flips before landing on the Parker house. As I landed on the roof of the house, I started to wall crawl on the side of the house to my room window. Sneaking through the window and into my bedroom, I then went to make sure neither uncle nor aunt sees me as I book it to the bathroom to take a shower to get the sweat off before they ask and/or notice. After a nice warm shower, I rush out of the bathroom after losing track of time. I quickly avoided making noise so neither guardian heard me as I maneuvered to my room. I wasn't paying much attention to what I was currently wearing, so I just picked some random clothes. I was wearing a black shirt with short sleeves. My pants are a little baggy, but it's just a normal feeling. I went down the stairs to see both Ben, reading the newspaper, and May, making breakfast with a smile on her face. "Good morning, Uncle Ben." "Good morning, Aunt May." I greeted both of them and sat down at the table. "Good morning, dear," Aunt May said before continuing doing what she was doing. "Morning, sport. How was your night?" Ben asked, while May hummed to the song that was being played on the radio. "I had a great sleep," I said back to both of them, which was kind of the truth. I was awake all night. "I hope you both had the same." "Well, with your uncle snoring, it seems almost impossible to get a wink of sleep," Aunt May said with a smile. "Hey," Uncle replied, with an ever-present smile on his face. "I can't help enjoying sleep. And so you do, dear." I, on the other hand, somehow managed to fall soundly asleep with some miracle. Aunt May replied, with just a great smile of her own. "Ha-ha." Chuckling a little at their antics. "These two are just great for each other. These two are really important to me now and especially important to Peter Parker and Spider-Man as a whole. I will make sure they don't have to worry in life and will always protect them. I make this vow not only to myself but also Peter Parker." When we were done eating breakfast together, it was already 6:55. "Okay, See you later, Aunt and Uncle. Be safe on your way to work. Ben. I was about to leave until Aunt May called out to me. Peter, hold on, dear. You should wait for Mary Jane. I just wanted to roll my eyes at the name of that redhead. I know, I'm acting like an emotional teenager. This is probably the Peter Parker part of me that is in the most pain, and is probably the center of all of my emotional pain in the first place. I then head to the nearest spot to change clothes and become the amazing Spider-Man. Rika, I said I did a little upgrade on her over the last few days. Yes, Peter. Rika spoke, sounding more human than before. Can you hide me from any surveillance camera around me until I arrive at Midtown High? I'm not skilled enough to block all surveillance, but I will have to hide you from them while you're in the vicinity, then turn them back on after you're out of the area. That's fine. I just don't want S.H.I.E.L.D. finding out it's me, and in turn, Hydra as well. Understood. With that being said and done, I jumped high in the air as I then began swinging through the bright sky of Manhattan. Citizens of Manhattan gawked and pointed at me, swinging in the sky like a bird, freed from its cage, performing incredible acrobatic moves with ease as I made my way to Midtown High. Peter should never be late for school like this. If I travel like this in my original body to school like this, I'll never be late, I thought to myself, though he had a lot to juggle on his plate at the time. Leaping over a building, I used my abilities to travel even faster to school as I continued to think to myself. It was also the first time that Peter had to juggle school, crime fighting, and protecting his secret ID. Though I abandoned the wrestling idea thing before I did something stupid. I thought, well, I did capture the cat burglar and watched a few wrestling matches. I blinked under the mask as I swung through the skies, attaching webline after webline to nearby buildings. I shook my head to discard those memories and performed acrobatic moves in the skies, causing me to feel joy. I don't need to be thinking about this. I'm not just Peter Parker, but also me. Yahoo! I yelled in joy as I did a double backflip in midair and then attached a web line to a nearby building. I increased my speed by attaching a web to a building at the last possible second and swung. I think I might enjoy this a little too much, I thought in joy as he swung. But this feeling never gets old. Unfortunately, I saw Midtown High web swinging over, performing a leap over a building. I made my way towards an alley near Midtown High. Once I was there, I double-checked his surroundings in the dimly lit alley to make sure that there were no witnesses. Rika, is there anyone in my vicinity? No, there isn't anyone around. I also decided to loop the cameras in the vicinity for extra security. Thank you, Rika. You're always such a big help. I said, never safe than sorry. I then checked my senses to find nothing. Satisfied, I began to quickly change into the alley without taking off my costume. I put on plain clothes and stumbled out the alley with my book bag. I then began to slowly walk to the entrance of Midtown High. There was a fountain in the middle of the courtyard, and students were scattered. I scanned the crowds of students that stood sprawled across the courtyard, and my eyes locked onto 6 people. One Harry Osborn, and next to him was Gwen Stacy, along with Michelle Jones, Jean Grey, Clayton Cole, and Jessica Jones. They were all talking to each other before looking at me, and they waved me over, quickly compiled, and proceeded walking towards my friends. If you're wondering what has happened for Jean and Clayton to be friends with the others, well, I did a little more research on my school. With my trip to Oscorp approaching, I offered Jean to study with us in the library. At first Gwen was jealous, and Harry wanted to flirt with her, but we managed to become friends. Next was Clayton Cole, who was a smart kid who was homeschooled by his mother and later enrolled in Midtown High. He is also the superhero in the Marvel comics called Clash. Cole was originally bullied by Kong, so to prevent a potential villain from rising, I befriended him. After I stopped Kong from bullying him for a while, I then introduced him to the rest of my friends, and sure, it was a little awkward, but I made it work. Somehow. Next was Jessica Jones. Jessica Campbell was born and raised in New York. She attended along with them where they shared several classes. She developed a crush on Peter, but never told him. I started talking to her recently. She was a little shy and might already have a crush on me. Great, and we soon started talking to each other, and I introduced her to Jean Grey. Both girls bonded instantly, and later so did Gwen. Apparently, Gwen felt that Mary Jane had left them for the popular kids, so she felt a little racist to me for bringing more girls into the group, which didn't help when I brought in a redhead right after a redhead had left. But she soon grew to enjoy having more female friends. Though when I then started talking to Michelle, Gwen made her presence known. Maybe she was a little jealous or confused that Peter Parker, the nerd, was suddenly talking to girls with no problem and being friends with the jocks. However, Gwen soon found out that Michelle was a very smart girl, and they quickly bonded with intellect and drawing skills. Now the 7 of them are friends. I still have many more allies to make and gain for the future. I also have been talking with Anya as well, and I plan to tell Gwen about Horizon. I want Gwen to work at Horizon instead of Oscorp in the future. I still plan to meet Felicia Hardy, aka Black Cat, Rogue, a few of the other X-Men, and Lorena Dodson. Maybe even Nova, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Shang-Chi, Daredevil, and others. I need to make a team that won't only rival the Avengers, but would surpass them. Hey, guys and gals. I enthusiastically waved at my 6 friends. Hey, Peter, replied both Jean and Gwen.
Peter.
Replied both Clayton and both Jones. Hey, Pete, Harry said with an all-cheerful tone. Did you hear about the new vigilante? Harry asked. Yeah. Have you heard of him? Clayton asked, also curious about my thoughts on the supposed vigilante. He could also be a she and not a he, Michelle said, followed by Jessica. Yeah. Maybe he might be a she instead of a he. MMHM. Gwen hummed in confirmation. What do you think they call him or her? I couldn't help but smile a bit more as the subject of the conversation was my alter ego. With some difficulty, I managed to suppress the smile to prevent any suspicion. I don't want them to know just yet. I then cleared my throat, and I spoke my opinion. Well, I heard about him. No one seems to be able to get any clear shots of him or her. So far, he's just a dark figure, which is all true, sort of. I wonder what the vigilante looks like. Clayton wondered aloud with a curious look on his face. Well, could there be other superheroes? Harry suggested it. Everyone turned to him. Harry, you have no idea. Unlikely, I answered before Harry, drawing confused looks from the party. He's a vigilante, guys. Vigilantes are people who take law into their own hands, and I wouldn't be surprised if the cops would be called in to arrest him or apprehend him of some sort. I explained. Plus, no hero has made their debut yet, so cops are going to want to arrest us before accepting us heroes. That is possible. Michelle nodded in agreement, seeing the logic behind my statement. Jessica, on the other hand, didn't. But this vigilante stops criminals. He or she stops mugging like a superhero. Maybe the cops could recruit him or let him join the police force or something. Again, he's a vigilante, though that could be possible. I said, never gonna happen. Don't know about this, Harry shrugged. My father seems to be interested in this vigilante from what I've seen. I didn't even think he would even believe in such a thing. He probably wants to study me for his goblin serum, crazy asshole. I thought to myself. Harry, what was that? Harry asked as he didn't quite hear me clearly. I said that we will continue studying for tests this year. I said to Harry, ah man, really? He said back, more annoyed and bored at the thought of more studying. Yes, out of everyone in the group, your academics are the lowest. I said back, what? How? I thought my grades were improving. He asked, confused by what I said. They are, I said before smirking evilly. But you have to put on a lot of makeup for your grades from last year. Plus, you also have to make up for the few days you were absent. Aman. Come on, Pete. While I and Harry were talking, Gwen couldn't help but notice that my body changed drastically. My shirt wasn't long-sleeved. It was rather short, exposing my truly well-defined muscles to her. In fact, she could bet that it was more defined than any of the jocks in the school combined. Whoa! Gwen marveled at my muscles, almost drooling in the process. Her ears canceled out mine, Harry's, and Clayton's conversation about words about biology and mechanical. She tore her gaze off my muscles and looked around if Jessica and Michelle were looking at her oddly. Fortunately, they weren't, but they also seemed to be focused on something. Gwen then looked at females around the courtyard, and they also seemed to be paying attention to something. It seems everyone was looking at the same thing. Gwen being perplexed at the situation, she follows their gazes, and to her surprise, it was aimed at one person. Peter Parker, having a casual conversation with both Harry and Clayton. Gwen quickly looked back to some females staring at me and noted that they all had admiring looks. Even both Joneses seemed to be paying close attention to Peter, and Jean was slightly flustered. Gwen returned to paying attention to Harry and Peter standing awkwardly. Peter, on the other hand, hasn't noticed yet how built he was or how many eyes were on me. But Gwen couldn't help but get my attention. Peter. Gwen spoke, which paused my attention towards the boys, and I turned my attention to her. She looks a little flushed. Is she okay? Yeah, Gwen, I said, looking directly at her. Have you been working out? She slightly stuttered throughout her speech. Harry's and Clayton's conversation immediately ceased as they stared at Gwen. I was in a dumbfounded state. Why would she ask me that? Well, I did say something to Jean about working out. I wonder if it is about that. Yeah. I nodded. Why do you ask? Well, you usually wear long-sleeved shirts, so We just now noticed, Gwen said after fixing her sentence. We? What does she mean by we? I thought to myself as I then looked around. Not just Gwen had noticed, but also Michelle, Jessica, and Jean were staring at me. Okay then. That's what she meant by we. Or so I thought before turning my attention to the courtyard to see all the females staring at me. Crap. I didn't think everyone would be staring at me like I'm the hottest thing out of the oven. I said to myself before looking slightly embarrassed. I see why Peter wears long sleeves all the time. A shy person would die from all this staring. Clayton was the first to speak to me after my thoughts ended. Peter, where and how did you get those muscles? Was it over summer? That's like 3 months and you already have those. Clayton says in amazement, causing many heads to turn towards me. Many eyes locked onto me, including the popular crowd. Dude, nice. We should go to the beach and show off that body of yours. Harry exclaimed. Okay, I'll say this now. I was used to getting girls' attention and being a great guy, but this is just too much. I mean, I love the attention and all, but still isn't this overkill? I believe if the real Peter Parker were here, he would be dead from this much embarrassment. Me? I'm gonna soak this all in and use this to my advantage. Like, yeah, I got nothing. I'm embarrassed. It's not that much, Harry, and going to the beach before the winter doesn't sound good, I replied, attempting to change the subject to save myself the embarrassment. But you will have to pass the test this Friday first. You guys can stop staring now. I mentally shouted at the other students who were still staring at me. The females gave admiring looks, while the males were given awestruck expressions. Okay, this is so weird yet boost my ego a bit. Jesus Christ, it's Jensen Ackles. Harry joked, referring to my new developments. I'm not Jensen Ackles, Harry, I replied, rolling my eyes at my friend's joke. I'm more of a Jason Bourne. I don't know, Clayton said, sounding unsure, but his face showed that he was amused by the situation. Jason Bourne? Maybe, Harry said, with an amused smile on his face. I will agree, Jessica stated with heart in her eyes. Okay, that's just wow. Just wow. I forget Jessica from the comics is way more joyful than the TV show version. Definitely, Jean said next to her, looking at my arms while still flustered. Chick. I looked over to see Michelle had taken a picture of me. And Gwen is taking pictures as well. Whatever. I've been just working out. Guys, I shrugged, then looked towards the girls in my party. Michelle, no more pictures. Jean, stop blushing. Jessica, focus. You have hearts in your eyes. And Gwen, you have a boyfriend for goodness sake. All the girls all stumbled and began to act normal again and focused. Whoa, Pete, what's the sudden change? Harry asked, surprised. What happened to him over the summer? Harry thought. In the past, Peter would stick to reading books instead of getting any physical activity. But I know better than to just waste time in my studies when in a superhero world. I wasn't wearing my glasses, mainly because I forgot to put them back on after changing out of costume. I usually forget them sometimes when I'm in a rush, but I just say my vision has been approved and I'm wearing contacts. What? Don't like what you see, old best buddy? I replied, though it sounded more like a question. Aha! An incredulous Harry said. Sure, though I would prefer the nerd version of you. This new you is still cool, though. Thanks. What about you, Clayton? I asked the other boy in the group. Huh, he said, confused. How do I look? I already know what the girls think. So I want your opinion on my transformation. I said it. Clayton looked at me and just smiled. You look great, Mr. Bourne, he said. Yes, thank you, my sidekick, I said back. Sidekick? He questioned. Yes, sidekick. Why am I your sidekick? Because you are. I seem to have forgotten that many students, who were mostly female, were still staring at me. Even the girls went back to staring at me again when I started talking to Clayton again. It's like they've never seen this much muscle before. Hungry vultures. Well, that is actually true. My muscles put most athletes to shame and definitely put the football team to rest. But what really is shocking to people is that the school's biggest nerd would turn into the most well-made and built guy over the course of 3 months. I can even feel that many of the females staring at me, imagining me without my shirt on, which caused them to give out a dreamy gaze. Look, as much as I am the next Jason Bourne or Jensen Ackles, shouldn't we be getting to class? I said to my friends. In response, Gwen, Harry, Jessica, Michelle, Jean, and Clayton shrugged almost carelessly. No one was failing classes, so that was no worry to them at all. Clayton, on the other hand, looked down at his left wrist. We should go. We'll make it. It's 7:36. Are you guys ready? Clayton asked, now focusing on his friends instead of his watch. Let's go before we waste any more time, I said to my friends, who all nodded in response. And so the 6 set out to the entrance of Midtown High through the double doors. But before that, oh Cole, dodge this, a voice shouted quickly from behind the 7 as they were almost about to reach the entrance. I looked towards Clayton and moved him to the side, but then my spider sense went off. Spidey sense. Jump! I felt my spider sense go off like an alarm inside my head, still getting acquainted with my abilities and increasing their strength. I, without looking behind me, quickly did a double backflip to avoid the danger my spider sense had warned me about. While doing the acrobatic maneuver, I was now about 8 feet away from my friends. I felt that I was at least 7 feet in the air during the backflip. In a few short seconds, I landed expertly, completing the double backflip without a hitch. I hear many students gasp along with my friends. I looked back at my previous position, which was in the middle of Harry and Clayton, and discovered that the cause of my spider sense was a football thrown at Clayton's head, hitting the steps to the entrance harmlessly. The whole courtyard was now dead silent. Silent enough to hear a pin drop onto the concrete floor. From the impact, I guessed that the football was aimed towards Clayton's head and thrown hard enough to give someone a headache or even brain damage. Good thing I got him out of the way. My eyes widened in realization of what I had just done. Did my spider sense go off from a damn football? And who in the hell would throw a football at someone's head like that? Slowly standing up, I faced my friends who had their eyes wide and mouth agape in complete shock. Scratching my head and trying to act casually, I simply asked a no-brainer question. What's wrong, guys? Neither Gwen, Jean, nor Harry responded to me, nor did both of the Joneses. Clayton, on the other hand, did. Thank you, Mr. Bourne. This humble sidekick will always be in your debt. Haha, you're welcome. I could tell he was joking but also very thankful to me. The courtyard was still silent. Nothing was heard. No one still spoke. No one did. Everyone had their eyes glued to me only. Any side conversations were completely silenced. Why is everyone so goddamn quiet? And who threw that football? The hell, Parker? The same voice that had shouted towards Clayton exclaimed outrageously. Turning around, I faced the source of the voice. It was Flash Thompson, Peter Parker's bully, along with other people from the in-crowd such as Mary Jane, Liz Allen, Randy Robertson, Sally Averill, Glory Grant, Kenny McFarlane Kong, etc. They all had shocked expressions ranging from wide eyes and dropped jaws to rapid blinking as if they couldn't believe their eyes. Whoa! Liz mentally exclaimed in her mind, not just from the spectacle that Petey had performed, but from the visible changes that had occurred to said individual. He no longer needed glasses, and he had muscles that were more defined than Flash or any other player for that matter, and he isn't even flexing. Liz thought to herself, comparing my build to Flash's and the rest of the football teams. Is he on drugs or something? I wonder if the nerd. What am I thinking about? I'm dating Flash, the football captain and star of Midtown. Why would she ever care for a nerd of all people, even if he looks like my slightly better half? The hell? Sally Averill wanted to exclaim but couldn't find the willpower to do it due to witnessing the acrobatic maneuver that I had displayed just a few moments ago. How did he do that? I should be the only one able to do that. No, not just that. Bug can do maneuvers I can't, but now also the king of nerds can as well. What is this world coming to? Sally planned to confront me on this, but when she got a closer look, she couldn't believe her eyes. Okay, Sally Averill loved the pecking order and status of her school life, but she isn't blind. When she used to look at puny Parker, she would see puny Parker in her mind and not her eyes. But after registering Peter's physical changes with her eyes, she couldn't help but blush and turn away. He's okay, I guess. He's still a nerd though. Okay. Now that was amazing, Glory thought, wondering just how Peter Parker had just performed the move. Confused her very much as well. Peter Parker used to be this scrawny and straight-A's student. Now he looks so confident and better looking. What happened to the nerd that Flash used to push around? He looked like he would be in the popular crowd from the start. And his looks, what I would do with that face alone. I mean, I'm dating Kenny. I can't be thinking about this. Well, maybe after. When did Parker learn to do that? Kong yelled into his mind, shocked. He was just a scrawny pipsqueak before summer started. Now he is able to do things like dodging Flash football throws, being on good terms with Flash, protecting that dweeb Cole, and pulling multiple girls. Wait, why is Glory staring at him like that? Okay, this guy's gonna get it. Flash and him might be on good terms, but that meant nothing to me. I can do what I want when I want. Flash isn't the boss of me.
Peter.
Gwen barely whispered, still shocked over the whole event. In just 1 second, he was a normal Peter Parker. Then boom, he performed a backflip that she had only seen Sally Averill perform before. What is happening to him? He never went to talk to so many girls before. So why is he doing this now? Right after I started dating Eddie. Is this change because of me? And when did he become so handsome? I used to have a crush on Peter, and I may still do, but I always thought Peter was thinking of me as a friend or even a sister. That's why I agreed to date Eddie. Maybe I chose wrong. Mary Jane, on the other hand, was going through a whirlwind of emotions and thoughts. Tiger has changed. What has happened to him? He has never been so amazing before. He looks so good-looking. And his body, it's just on another level to anything I've seen before. What has he been doing over summer? She's been meaning to ask him if he ever got contacts. But now he does a double backflip, successfully avoiding the ball aimed towards Clayton's head, which he saves him from and dodges all in a few seconds. Jean was in shock. Did Peter just do that? I thought he just started working out at a gym? Is he doing gymnastics? Well, whatever it may be, he is so dreamy. I thought I might be a little drawn to him because he introduced me to his friends and he was the first to talk to me after Cindy disappeared. But there might be more to my feelings than I first thought. Jessica had hearts in her eyes again. Wow, did he just do that? I thought only cheerleaders could do that type of flip. Was he always so acrobatic and so Handsome? Ugh, I just need to ask him out. But whenever I get confidence, I just chicken out when I see his smile. Peter Parker, you're truly every woman's dream guy. Maybe he wants to go out sometime. Maybe, just maybe. A girl can dream, right? Michelle looked odd. That was cool. But how did he do that? Last time I checked, nerds aren't supposed to be able to do backflips. Did something happen to him? Is he taking something? This guy becomes more and more of a mystery to me, and that makes me want to figure out more about him. Michelle thought to herself. Wow, now that was cool, Randy Robertson said with awe. His expression was one of shock. Wide eyes, mouth agape, etc. Unlike the other individuals in the group, he didn't despise Parker like the rest did, save for Glory and apparently Flash of all people. He's done nothing bad to him, so why should he pick on him? Thank you, Randy, I said, not fazed by the least shocked faces. You were always the cool one in your popular crowd. I recalled information from Peter's memory right before summer started. The ESU field trip that took place at the end of that semester. Peter Parker was a scrawny teenage kid possessing the qualities of a geek. Straight A's, reading books, etc. Basically a wimp, which I still do. I still get straight A's and like to read books, especially books to help with my superhero career. But after getting my spider powers and training to this point in time, I wasn't even close to wimpy Peter Parker anymore. I planned to make my mark on this world. And first, that is both in Spider-Man's life and Peter Parker's. But I didn't mean it like this. I no longer wore glasses, so most guessed I was wearing contacts, and not that I have spider powers that healed Peter Parker's sight. Though maybe after getting a haircut and gaining more features, I could probably pull it off now. Though I only wear the glasses for Rika, as for a form of protection and information. With my muscles, which further perplexed the teenage girls and boys. Just 1 minute ago I was scrawny, and now I look determined, strong, confident, and powerful. And that's just what I wanted. I don't want Peter Parker to be seen as this wimpy kid who couldn't be Spider-Man, but as a guy who looks like he put the world on his shoulders. I already have a few plans in place to hide my identity in the future that I can use. Plus, there are multiple people I have in mind who can dress up as me to help keep my secret identity safe. I'm not mad at myself for dodging the football like that either, but I should be more careful in public. I've only been a superhero for so long, and I came this close to losing my identity. I need to be more careful or S.H.I.E.L.D. will have to step in. And when S.H.I.E.L.D. is involved, Hydra is right there next to them. I looked at Flash, who was frozen in place. He looked completely gobsmacked in disbelief at what puny Parker did. Parker? Is this him? Or did I get the wrong guy? Flash wandered in confusion. He still remembered me as the scrawny, wimpy, bookworm, outcast kid with glasses. Flash then took notice of the changes. No longer wearing glasses, I gave off an aura when I was standing, and my exposed muscles, which he hated to admit, were very impressive. I'm not bullying him anymore, but that's just because he agreed to give plays to the coach for us to try during football, and he helps with my studying. Only I know what he does besides the couch, and that started during early school. Parker, what the hell was that? Flash asked me, now breaking the silent courtyard. He knows the ball wasn't aimed at Peter, but still angered him that Peter Puny Parker, had the gall to go against him like this. Maybe it was because they were on good terms with helping with his studies, but that doesn't mean he could embarrass him like that in front of the whole school like that. He guessed he would have to teach Parker a lesson for old time's sake. Huh, I guess you suck at aiming, Eugen, I replied, rubbing the back of my head. This further enrages Flash to the point he could be seen turning red. Right after I finished my sentence, the whole courtyard was now either giggling at my jab or murmuring with students engaging in conversations with each other. What did all the conversations have in common? The same subject. Me, Peter Parker. I really need to learn when to control my spider sense better. I'm still glad I saved Clayton, though. He could at the very least get a headache that would have been hell to deal with during school. People would probably laugh at him too. I don't want Clash to come forth anytime soon yet. The courtyard full of students continued to murmur, confused, laughing, and shocked at what transpired just mere moments ago with me and Flash. I then finally turned my gaze to my friends. Harry and Gwen stared at me, their best friend, with shocked expressions, never expecting such reflexes from me at all. Clayton looks awestruck, and the girls, they look like they have fallen in love with me completely, well, except Michelle. She looks to be studying me, interesting but still weird. Dude, what the hell was that? Harry demanded as he managed to shake himself out of his shocked state. I just smile and look towards the crowd around us. Gwen glanced towards Flash's direction, and to her amusement, Flash stood gobsmacked but with a rageful glare at Peter. Gwen took a further look behind Flash, spotting the in-crowd. She wasn't surprised when they too had the same expression as Flash, varying from Liz Allen rapidly blinking to Sally Averill rubbing her eyes as if she were hallucinating. Mary Jane looked like she was in love with Peter, ho. Randy Robertson and Kenny Kong McFarlane were staring at Peter with wide eyes, and Glory had a smirk, something Gwen found unusual, but even she too was shocked. Peter just dissed Flash, of all people, something no one in their right mind would do. I practiced parkour during summer, I replied with a hint of amusement, causing Gwen to raise an incredulous eyebrow and Harry to roll his eyes. Jean and Jessica just nodded their heads, while Michelle looked more curious. Clayton looks like a fan who just met their idol. Uh-huh, Gwen said, not convinced. You expect me to believe that, Peter? Yes, I replied with a neutral expression. Gwen and Harry looked at each other for a brief moment, then stared at me suspiciously. Jessica and Jean were quiet, while Michelle was staring at me, focused. Fortunately, I was rescued in the form of an angry Flash Thompson. Parker, Thompson growled as he approached me, just recently shaking himself out of his shocked and angered state. I didn't notice that the crowd hushed as soon as Thompson came up to my face. That's just a fluke. You won't avoid this one. Ha, we'll see, Eugen. As I said that to Flash's face, Flash's right fist was about to make contact with my head. If this was Peter, he may have let it hit him. But I'm not Peter Parker, well, not him exactly. I leaned to the left with the most human speed possible. Flash put so much force into that missed punch that he stumbled forward for a bit but managed to regain his balance. The courtyard was now dead silent as a brawl was likely to occur. I guess it wasn't a fluke then, Flashy boy, I said, while Clayton and Harry backed up away from the brawl that would likely ensue if Flash's red face from both embarrassment and anger was any indication. Jessica, Jean, and Michelle just giggle at my name-calling Flash. Come on, Eugen. Flash. Stop, MJ said, Gwen also trying to get in between us. They were trying to protect me, which was sweet, but it was not needed from either of Peter's lovers. Gwen, Mary Jane, stay out of it, I said in an authoritative tone. They look at me, but Flash is already right in my bubble. He ran past them when they looked at me, and he ran in for a tackle or maybe a grab. Either way, this went on long enough in my opinion. I just raised my hand and put 2 fingers on his head. I then flick him to the left towards the wall. He hits the wall with a thud, knocking him out. Good night, Eugen. It was quiet again. No one was talking again. I decided to break the silence. Welp, that was fun, Eugen. As I then began walking into school, I stopped to look back at everyone. Everyone was shocked, beyond belief, but I could be careless at this point. I looked towards my friends being Gwen, Harry, Jessica, Michelle, Clayton, and Jean. Guys, are you coming? School is about to start. Everyone was still watching. No one was speaking. This silence is killing me, but even I knew this was a bold move on my part. However, I shouldn't get in trouble because Flash started it, and I have eyes to vouch that Flash attacked me first. So the consequences of my actions have no concern to me at the moment. I survey my friends' faces first to gauge their reactions to my sudden triumph against my supposedly bullying friend back to bullying. Gwen had a face full of shock and worry, probably thinking I'm doing drugs or something. So precious and concerned for me, but so annoying for me as well. I then looked to my best friend, Harry Osborn. He had a face of amazement. Of course he would be rooting for me, his best friend. I like this version of Harry more and more. He'll make a great partner in the future. Hopefully. Next is Jean. She looks shocked. Probably didn't think Peter Parker, the nice guy/nerd, could pull off a win against the peaks of bullies. Welp, now she knows Peter isn't a pushover anymore. And those trips to the gym have paid off. Looking to my left was Clayton, and he was basically fanboying at this point. Well, I don't need to worry about Clash for a while, so that's good at least. Probably just got my first fan as my civilian self. After walking inside the school, I hear cheers going on in the courtyard. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at this before hearing footsteps speeding towards me. I looked back to see my friends. They were starting to catch up with me. I looked back to see Gwen was leading. She looked kind of worried. Jessica Campbell was in shock before she came closer to me and cheered for me. "That was amazing, Peter," she yelled in a loud and bright voice. "Thanks," I responded. "Dude, how did you do that?" Harry asked next. I gave him a side eye, before a smirk appeared. "Well, I have these things called fingers, which I used to put on Flash's forehead to redirect his approach." Before I could finish my explanation, Gwen cut in. "That is not what he meant, Peter," she said with a voice of authority. "You were awesome, Peter. Don't worry about Gwen. She just is an overbearing mother hen," Jean said with a hint of amusement. I smiled back at her with a nod. Gwen is always the more level-headed of the group, so it makes sense she would have questions. "Well, I think you were awesome as well, Pete. And now I know you're buff. We can hit the beach to show off that bud." Hilarious, everyone. But are we not going to talk about Peter just beating Flash? Gwen exclaimed. Michelle then also put her piece in. "Yeah, I'd like to know how you did that as well. I may have been a little startled, but Clayton came in for the save. Actually, guys, we need to head to class. Bell is about to ring." He spoke, which gained everyone's attention as students passed us. "All right then, but Peter, I expect." "Peter?" Gwen said, then looked around for me. The other did as well to see that Peter was gone. "Well, that was interesting," Michelle said, also curious about Peter's newfound abilities. A few periods later, gym class. After periods of classes and the horrible calculus, I had been trying to avoid both Gwen and Michelle the whole day. Those two are the smartest and most grown-up in the group, and they wouldn't leave things alone. So avoiding them from time to time to let this blow over for now. I exited the class looking sleepy. Truth be told, I didn't get much sleep last night, about 3 hours, and that's being generous. Calculus class didn't make it much better. Due to my fatigue, I'm probably making terrible decisions based on my mental state. Regardless, it's too late to avoid it now. People were chatting amongst themselves, chatting up a storm. I grew curious, but before I could ask anyone anything, a few slowly turned to me. I blinked. A lot more were all staring at me. I was kind of surprised, really. I looked back at them. Can I help you? Is it true you beat Flash?" Yes, I answered. I was still confused by the situation. More and more people crowded around the defeat of rising football star Flash Thompson. Okay, maybe beating Flash wasn't a good idea. I then see a few girls blushing and staring at my muscles. Okay, maybe it's not too bad. I then see a few nerds that have names that are not important enough for me to remember. Sorry, but I'm not going to remember every NPC name. You beat Flash. That is out of this world. Are you going to continue to study? One of the nerds said. Do you have a girlfriend? One of the females said. When did you get swole? Are you on drugs? One guy said, looking more muscular. Okay. First, thank you, and I am still studying. Second, no, I don't have a girlfriend. And no, I don't do drugs. I continue to be swarmed by people asking more and more questions. I don't hate this, but this is going to be tiring. As I continue to work my way through the crowd, a few of the in-crowd spot me, being Sally and MJ. MJ just smirks while Sally scowls. Look at this MJ. Petey is tearing down the social order of things, Sally said, with a frown on her face. MJ was indifferent about it. And now look at him, looking so confident and undeterred about the status quo. Well, Tiger has put on some muscle over the summer, MJ says, before staring at me in the crowd. It makes sense he would have more confidence about himself, especially after he just beat Flash in front of half the school this morning. Gore, he's probably on drugs. Humph. After saying her last piece, Sally walks away with a frown. MJ just laughs at her friend's antics. She looks over to Peter one more time. Looking good, Tiger. Keep it up. Some time later. Entering the locker room, I noticed that the majority of the boys were already dressed for gym. Of course, I'm last here because of the paparazzi. I made sure to keep his head low to mask his identity as best I could. No one paid no mind to him, even Flash. He was too busy talking to the other jocks and explaining something about me. I'm telling you, he just got lucky. And when I see that pipsqueak, he's dead. Welp, staying away from that can of worms. I then tried even harder to hide myself and avoid people the best I could. Unfortunately, I couldn't keep the charade up forever, for my locker was near Harry Osborn. I sneaked a peek at my locker for a quick moment, and Harry was already sitting on a bench, waiting for me. Inhaling for a moment, Peter slowly approached his locker. It's just Harry. He's probably going to be okay to deal with compared with everyone else. Hey, Peter, where have you been? Harry said, smirking at me. Haha, dealing with my new fan club. I replied as I took a seat and went on entering my combination with my right hand. Oh, that sounds so bad for you, Harry remarked in a sarcastic voice. Yeah. Killer, I know. I nodded to my friend's attic, pulling down the lock after inputting the last combination. I went on to open my locker, the small door obscuring his head as he leaned down. I used my right hand to grab my clothes. Coming here on open house day tends to have its advantages, one of them being able to get your gym locker and clothes. Hey, can you know? I asked, trailing off. Huh? Oh yeah, sure. Harry turned the other way, giving me privacy. He knew the young fellow was insecure about his body. Harry then takes a peek at my body and actually admires it for once instead of flossing over it and joking about it. Last he saw Peter, he was so skinny, but Harry could have sworn he saw bones. Not true. However, Peter's body was more developed than the most elite Olympic gymnast wouldn't even compare to. Peter's arms were so toned and built like metal. His body had so much muscle that the football team wouldn't compare. His legs look thick but not too fat. Just that his legs look like they hold so much power behind them. Nonetheless, his body is perfect. Even though his looks had changed, he looks more handsome, beautiful, hard to describe really. As Harry was thinking this, I changed from my school clothes into my gym clothes in a matter of 1/10 of a minute. Changing from civilian to costume and costume to civilian had given me much practice, and I was thankful. That meant nobody could see my developments unless I did something like forget to wear long sleeves and a jacket. That was fast, Harry thought as he turned around. Pete, how did you gain that much muscle? I've been working out, Harry. I told you this. Yeah, but... Harry looks up and down at my body. That's not something you can just gain in a matter of a few months. I didn't want Harry to know that he grew some muscles in the span of 6 months, but I can just say I was training in the summer beforehand. Harry, this took me nearly 8 months of hard work to achieve, along with changing my diet and working around my genes. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So you have been working out since last school year? Yeah, Harry, did you really think I got this in 3 months? Unless I'm on drugs, which I'm not and am always willing to be tested. This is just all my hard work put together. I guess you're right. You wouldn't be dumb enough to do drugs with Gwen around anyway. Harry spoke and did the most fake shiver, and I couldn't help doing the same. Genes are also part of it. You have seen my family, right? I can give you a detailed explanation on how genes have. I'll stop you right there, Pete. I already have a headache from calculus, and I don't need it to get worse. Are you sure you're fit for gym class then? I asked, concerned about his well-being. You know how tough Coach Thomas can be. I'll be fine. It's all good. Harry forced a smile. I saw right through that and frowned, but I knew I couldn't push further. If you're so sure, but if I see you pulling behind, I'll help out. Okay? Thanks, Pete. You're a great friend. We both fist bump and head out to the gym. And so everyone waited in the gym. Flash, along with some of his more brute force friends, sent me death stares, which I promptly ignored completely. It wasn't long until Coach Johnson practically yelled for the rest to get inside the gym. Everyone fell in line like soldiers and marched to the gym. With Coach Johnson serving in the Marine Corps for several years and being a drill instructor for half his service time, he still retained his attitude as a DS. I was once frightened of the man when I first met him, but his fright had been dumbed down because of my training routine and fighting thugs on the streets of New York. I then look at him once more. I guess some of that fright changed into respect for the man in time. The boys made it to the gym to find the girls already in line at attention. Sometimes I think I'm in the military when I'm supposedly in gym class. Sucks how I have to hold back to not show off my powers. With Coach Johnson constantly yelling and screaming like a banshee, it was a miracle that he still retained his voice. Of course, his voice was hoarse, but that was expected. "All right, students," the former DS screamed, and some students flinched. "Welcome to Midtown High, again. Now, time for me to assign you to your lines." Coach Johnson went on to assign this year's groups/lines. He liked to mix students together, a trait that even the original Peter had grown to hate. I could care less. The gym is just exercise. The lines weren't even in alphabetical order. It was completely random. I just hoped he wouldn't get placed in a line with Flash and his followers. That would be awful for him. Osborne, Thompson, Robertson, McFarlane, Stacy, Grant, line 6. In that order, the 6 rushed to their positions, not wanting to be chewed out by the former Marine. Harry went in front, Flash behind, Randy behind Flash, Kenny behind Randy, and so on. They stood up straight and turned their heads to make eye contact with the Banshee. The coach stared back, making Flash, Kenny, and Harry's demeanor falter. Flash was weak in the knees, and Harry's legs were shaking as if he were on a roller coaster. After a tense 5 seconds, Johnson gave a nod along with a grunt. Everyone in line 6 released a breath of relief. The coach's military haircut, dangerous eyes, and eyebrows that were so low it looked like he was glaringly scared everyone. Wearing a green shirt that showed the rank of first sergeant and forest camouflage shorts just screamed that he was military. Everyone respected him because of his service, but that didn't mean they liked him. His harsh exercises pushed everyone to the limit, and before, Peter earned a C in this class due to obvious reasons, but I aimed a little higher for a B. Not on purpose. It's just I sometimes get lost in thoughts. Johnson looked down at his clipboard and then shouted, "Allen, Parker, Avril, Jones, line 7. In that order. Move." Liz placed herself first, then Peter, still holding the masking tape. Sally and Jessica lined up right behind her. Why the hell am I sandwiched between girls? Why am I the only boy in line? Okay, I know things can be random, but this is just stupid. There are definitely more boys in class than girls. Why did this happen? And why me? I screamed in my head. I can feel Sally glaring at my head and Liz wearing a frown. Wasn't she friendly this morning? Girls' hormones and feelings change so quickly. Boys can never keep up. After doing this, the class did the exercises and moved on. God, I hate this class, Sally whispered under her breath. Peter recognized the look and posture of Mr. Johnson. He was about to smoke the class for unknown reasons. "Ready position," Mr. Johnson barked. The whole class dropped down to the floor in the push-up position. Bellies above the floor, legs together and hands on the floor. Peter, unfortunately, was not exempt from the smoke session. In cadence, this was basically the preparatory command. The whole class tensed for a gruesome exercise. Mr. Johnson waited, time passing by agonizingly slowly. Being in the push-up position for an extended period of time was uncomfortable, and shaky and wobbly arms appeared in some of the students. 15 seconds in and still nothing. But Peter actually didn't mind. With his powers and superhuman stamina, he wasn't even breaking a sweat. unlike the previous years. 20 seconds passed and Mr. Johnson finally screamed, "Exercise!" Immediately, everyone went down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The class shouted in unison. Peter was doing just fine at the 20 push-up mark. Others were unfortunate. "What's the matter? Come on. Push yourself to the limit," Mr. Johnson blasted in Clayton's ear. The poor kid had a red face and couldn't keep up with the rest of the class. Well, I guess if he's not going to become a supervillain, I could turn him into a superhero instead. I thought to myself as I went down and back up. Nah, I already have to deal with Jean's future with her powers and the X-Men, along with figuring out how Jessica even gets her powers in the first place. I also need to deal with a few other things besides superhero work. Like Horizon is having the expo soon, along with us going on a trip to Oscorp soon, seeing it was cancelled last month. "You, Mr. Johnson," pointed at a student who had given up when he wasn't looking. "Too bad she got caught in the act. I didn't tell you to stop. Keep going. I don't want to see you stop until you puke." "Parker," Mr. Johnson screamed as he whipped his head in the direction of Peter, ready to egg him on, but was met with a surprising sight. 45 push-ups in and I was still going, and exhaustion was entirely absent. I was still in my thoughts, so I didn't notice that I pushed past my normal set of speaking in gym class. "Huh. Yes," I replied in a shocked yell. I still haven't noticed and replied without noticing what was going on. That certainly surprised almost every student, and they were in for more of a treat when they realized he was still going. "What in tarnation? You're still going?" "Yes, sir. Why am I still yelling? What the hell?" Sally muttered, panting heavily. The class was now at the 55 push-up mark. "I want you to give me 120%, Parker." "Aye, sir. What number are we on?" I wasn't counting or paying attention. "Last one standing gets a treat," Mr. Johnson announced. Everyone's eyes widened. Those who had given up and lined up against the bleachers looked disappointed. It was well damn worth it to work for a treat from Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson wasn't that bad of a guy. He's just encouraging students to step out of their boundaries in his tough love sort of way. There were only about 7 students left. Gwen and Harry had quit at around the 20 mark, which I usually tie with or go 1 or 2 over. Clayton stopped at 10, so better than last time. So good for him. Those who were left pushed themselves to the best of their ability to earn that treat. It was no surprise that Flash was still in, but seeing Liz, Sally, Jessica, Randy, and Kenny keep up kind of amazed me. Flash and other goons quit early and now are suffering for it, I guess. I get Flash and Randy keeping up, but Kenny, Sally, and Liz are cheerleaders, so they are conditioned to be able to do this much. But Kong, really? Author? Come on, Jones. Put your back into it. Give me 130%. Turns out Jessica might already be disputing powers. She couldn't even do 15, and now she is keeping up with the athletic group at number whatever we are on. But seeing her struggling means she hasn't got all of her strength yet. I thought to myself. She reached the 70 push-up mark and she was still going. Jessica struggled, panting like a dog when she gave her reply. "I am trying, sir." I heard the thud. Jessica must have collapsed, so she doesn't have her full powers like I thought. I guess that is a good sign that we aren't that close to the story yet. "You're done." To the bleachers. Peter mindlessly watched Jessica walk to the bleachers, where most of the class were. She looked crestfallen. "Hey, Jessica," I yelled, getting most everyone's attention. I switched to one-hand push, which shocked most of the people here, and gave her a thumbs up. "Good job. You tried your best, and that's what counts." I then put my other hand back down and continued to mindlessly do push-ups, lost in my thoughts once more. Jessica started blushing and thanked me as she went to both Gwen and Harry. I was glad to cheer her up, but once again got lost in thought. The Fantastic Four are coming back in 10 days, and Tony Stark has been saved and brought back. Bruce Banner is still on the run, which is fortunate. I don't look forward to fighting Abomination. I didn't realize that we were at the 90 mark and that everyone else had given up but Flash and me. Parker, Mr. Johnson snapped me out of my thoughts again, which was starting to get annoying. Yes, SIR? Keep going. Give me 1000%. Yes, AYE, sir. Flash looked absolutely gobsmacked. In fact, the whole class did. 110 push-ups in, and I was still in. Flash began to struggle at the 120 mark, and it looked like he was about to give up. Yet, he wasn't about to let the nerd humiliate him again and deliver a blow to his ego once more. I am Flash Thompson, football star. I'm not letting this nerd get the best of me again. No matter what, I'm winning this thing. Flash internally motivated himself. At some point, the class started doing the countdown of push-ups, and Flash tried to say them, but Flash's came out more like a wheeze and a dying cat for each number. 135, 136, 137, 138, 139. Yes, goddamn, yes, you can beat Thompson, Parker. Mr. Johnson encouraged his battle buddy's nephew. Wait until his uncle hears about this. Wait a second. Beat Thompson? Already did that. It makes no difference to me if I do it again. I thought, nope, I said that out loud in the open. Many people were surprised by my outburst, but not more than my friends and Johnson. The class continues to watch the competition drag on. They even began to cheer. Liz, Sally, Randy, Kenny, and just about anyone from the in-crowd egged Flash on while Glory, Harry, Gwen, Jessica, Clayton, and most of the class cheered for the underdog. I can slightly hear Flash cursing himself but ultimately keep going. I am not losing to that nerd who doesn't even have parents. At this moment, I decided Flash needed a reality check. Jessica, I shouted at the top of my lungs, interrupting everyone's chant and Johnson's constant yelling. The girl in question was shocked and surprised by the sudden outburst by her crush. Jessica, come here. Parker, what are you doing? Focus on your push, UPS. Jones, stay where you are. Johnson yelled at the top of his lungs, which gave pause to Jessica, but I could care less for what Coach Johnson wanted at this moment. Jessica, here, now, I yell back, and Jessica then looks at me and then the coach. Johnson was irritated, but he allowed Jessica to go over to me. As Jessica got close to me, she hovered slightly over me. She looks like a red cherry at how much she is blushing, but I swiftly move closer to her and trip her. She landed on my back perfectly. I continue to do push-ups with blushing Jessica. In fact, I sped up. Everyone was godsmacked at what I had done, but I could care less about their reaction and focus on Flash's reaction to this. His face showed it all. Rage, fear, anger, confusion, and bewilderment. Flash's arms wobbled like jelly, his face as red as a tomato, and he was sweating bullets by the 190 mark, yet he still pushed forward. His glare at me ever present as I continued to do push-ups with Jessica on my back. The crowd gasped when Flash collapsed at the 200 mark. I still continued, again not noticing and beginning to breathe a little heavy. This is starting to catch up with me now. Training, patrol, training again, patrol again, little sleep, and now gym class. I guess even this was going to get tiring after a while, huh? I continued to do the push-ups without taking notice that Flash had given out a while ago and that I'm reaching the 250 mark at the speed I'm going. Starting to sweat, I hear Jessica call my name. Peter, she said in a whispered tone, in slightly maneuvered body, letting her know I can hear her. Yes? Something wrong? Are you uncomfortable? I didn't really ask if she was comfortable with the position we were in. No. I mean, this is fine, she said, before looking to the side with a blush. It's just, Flash already gave up. Huh. And that's when I finally noticed how quiet it was. I asked, oh wait, it's over? Already? I was just about to get a good workout in. Just the way I said it casually made Sally's and Flash's blood boil. Sally was about to scream her head off, but fortunately Mr. Johnson sent a stern look her way to prevent a catastrophe that would result in many bleeding ears. Thank you for that, Johnson. Superhearing would really suck if I lost it in gym classes of all places. Flash wanted to say something, to yell even, but he was completely spent and panting and tried to take deep breaths. Jessica and I just stood up, and I wiped the little sweat that managed to develop on his brow. Thanks, Jessica. I needed the extra help. Too bad it ended here. I was starting to get worked up for this, I said to her, and everyone was able to hear it due to how silent the gym was. That silence was broken by Mr. Johnson erupting into a guffaw that caught Peter by surprise. You see this man, this son of a... Language, never mind, I said to just hush back down. Well, I guess everyone here is a teenager here, so whatever. You, Parker, is the perfect example that all of you should strive to be. I was suddenly crushed when Mr. Thomas clapped his shoulder. Holy crap. That hurts. I winced. Why does that hurt? I'm not that tired and I shouldn't even feel the pain. I looked up to meet Mr. Johnson's eyes and found that they held pride. That is more scary than it should be for me. What is going on? Never doubted you for a second. Can't wait to tell you, Uncle, about this. Good job, Parker. Mr. Thomas complimented it with a wink. I was speechless, but somehow found his voice to respond. I thanks? Wait a second. Tell my uncle? Most of the class then erupted into cheers and whoops. Well, I have nothing to say right now. I then spot the crowd and can see Gwen Stacy walking towards me with a determined look on her face. Yeah, I'm not dealing with this right now. Time to mingle with the crowd. As I then disappear in the crowd of cheers of worship, expertly dodging Gwen Stacy until the end of class. Later, when the bell rang, the boys exited their designated locker room. Peter, Harry, and Clayton walked side by side. Clayton and Harry were going on and on about what I just did. Dude, that was freaking awesome. Did you see Flash's face? Honestly, seeing Sally's face made it all that better. Seeing Flash Thompson passed by them with a grumble. Usually he would just shove the boys down, but he knew it wasn't worth the wrath of Mr. Johnson, and I could practically see his face holding so much rage behind it. I guess, I said, trying not to sound smug about my second win against Flash today. You guess? Jesus, Peter. That's some serious self-doubt right there. Harry sighed and smiled at his best friend. Oh, Petey. Oh, Osborne. I mocked, laughing a bit. Harry couldn't help but join in shortly after. Harry said his farewell for the time being once they neared his class. I continued on my way to my class alone, drowning out the conversations and make-out sessions going on in the hallway. There goes Randy, I thought, as I saw her walking down the hallway with her hood on. I need to come up with a way to talk to her. Hey, Peter. Wait. I hear someone call from behind me. I look back to see Gwen Stacy making her way towards me. Crap, I had Gwen in the next class. Welp, let's see how good I am at making excuses. Turning around to face said blonde completely, I greeted one of Spiderman and Peter Parker's lovers with a friendly smile. Hey, Gwen. How? Before I could finish my sentence, Gwen gave me that look, which scared both Harry and Peter, which in turn scares me. Don't hey me, Pete. What has been going on? She asked. What do you mean? You suddenly have more muscles than the football team, Peter. You also beat Flash like it was nothing. What was that in PE class? You never get that high in PE, and you chose to put Jessica on your back like that. Okay. Time to put that IQ and big brain to the test and come up with $1 million excuse. Hey, sue me for wanting to have a one-time ticket to no military-level workouts for a whole 2 weeks. I defended myself while shrugging. And like I said before, I've been working out since before summer. I have also been taking self-defense lessons here and there. Gwen narrowed her eyes, her pace much faster than before. I hope she buys this. Since when could the nerdy Peter Parker do over 200 push-ups, which is possible with enough dedication, without looking or even being tired, along with carrying a girl on your back after you reach the 150 mark. Then continuing 250 like it was no big deal. Gwen Stacy, smart enough to research at Oscorp in the movies, she befriended Peter at an early age, so she knows more about him than anyone else. This is going to be more difficult than I thought it would be. Sorry, Gwen, but trade secret and family secret, I said in a joking manner. Oh, and would you look at that, there's our class. We have the same class, Peter, Gwen deadpanned, easily catching up. And the bell won't ring for a few minutes, so we can continue to talk. This woman doesn't give up. I internally cursed. Need a new approach. And fast. Peter sighed, stopping just a few feet before the classroom and turning to face Gwen. Okay. Gwen, you want the truth? I ask. She nods her head. Okay. The truth is, I have a genie. Really, Peter? She asks with a face saying I'm a terrible person. Okay. Not my best choice of words, but it is probably true. Gwen huffed in annoyance, a strand of blonde hair flying upwards. Genies can't help you cheat. Wait, I thought that was fairies? Gwen pushed a finger against Peter's chest and finished with, and fairies can't help you cheat in contests either. So, tell me, how? Plus you have no lamp. When Gwen pulled her, he gave her the look and folded her arms over her chest. He had to confess. Arg, how about next time? Please, Gwen, let's just drop it. Concern replaced the stern look Gwen was giving him. Drawing out a long sigh, she dropped the look. Fine, I'll drop it. Thank you. Beat that Parker luck. A sad and sympathetic face always wins. Wait, is it steroids? You can check, I whispered. What? She says, looking down to the floor with a blush on her face. Kidding. I was just joking. Plus you're dating Eddie? I said, then looking at her face, seeing her not say anything about Eddie. You are dating Eddie, right? We broke up, Peter. My bad, I replied after looking away from her. And no to the drugs. My body is clean. We can test it if you really want. Okay, just making sure, Gwen said, not looking at me at all anymore. She then walked right into the classroom. I followed shortly after. How did I miss that Gwen and Eddie aren't together anymore? I need to focus on my group of friends more. Gwen never mentioned it, and neither did Eddie. Well, Eddie and I only talk time to time again, so it makes sense I won't know about it until now, after another unsuccessful attempt to befriend Tandy. Seriously, this girl is so difficult to deal with. Manhattan. As I was running to the top of buildings and performing impossible feats of parkour and acrobatic moves on the way back, I was excited about what I had done. Now it is time to start planning ways on how to improve my role as Spider-Man even more. Checklist 1. Safe houses. Create as many safe houses to resupply my equipment and warehouses to park my vehicles all across New York, states, or maybe the country. Abandoned buildings, hidden storm tunnels. This will make it much harder for S.H.I.E.L.D. or anyone from finding out my identity and place where I hang my hat. I know I have the warehouse as my main base, but going to one place all the time will eventually lead to me. This, however, will be a time-consuming and expensive project I won't be able to work on until I have sufficient funds to support these things. I don't even have my warehouse up to date yet, so that has to wait for a while, unfortunately. 2. Goblin Green or Oz Serum, whichever Osborn is creating. Either figure out a cure or find a way to remove the negative effects in the serums. I also need to figure out which one it is. Either I'm getting a smart psychopath or a hulking flaming psychopath after me. From the last I heard from Harry about asking about said project, they are having huge problems trying to replicate the same result or improving on the super soldier serum. I think I should sneak in and steal a canister during the field trip next week. I'll have to try my luck at separating the problems from the serum. If I can do it, I might be able to become even more of a powerhouse. But only if I can get rid of the problems and find out which formula it is. 3. Holographic computer. A holographic computer interface and hacking cable attached to the wrist to help access building schematics and data files with a USB cable that can hook up to larger systems that allow complete access for advanced hacking programs. Haha, thank you, Young Justice Robin. This could also be based off of Superior Spider-Man. 4. New suit, work in progress. 5. Weapons and belt. Spiderdings / Spider Stars. Small rebreather. 4 underwater and harmful gas. And pellets. This is all situational but will come in handy when webs are not. Spider stars can be normal or eclectic. Maybe even explosive when the situation needs it. I could probably hold my breath for a while but not enough. Pellets are going to need to be small. They will also be able to flash, grenade, and or smoke. Probably both, to be honest. That reminds me of something. 6. Electromagnetic. A weapon/device to prevent Magneto from controlling metallic materials within 5 feet from my body. A weapon to disable his powers if the time comes for it. If, more like when. It is only a matter of time before Jean gets her powers. Along with that comes Xavier. And along with Xavier is Magneto, one of the most powerful supervillains on Earth. 7. Built-in earpiece in the suit. That can come with communication, wiretapping devices, and telepathy disruption. Though I have a few more ways to hide my mind in and out of the suit, that is for later. While I was thinking all this, I was running and enjoying the feeling of the wind against my body as I went to meet a certain someone. I head into a dark alley to meet a certain guy. This place was off in the far parts of the city. I start crawling down a wall to see the person look up and spot me. Well, you finally showed up. The man spoke in his accent. Sorry to keep you waiting, Blackie. I spoke in a neutral voice. As I then pull out a wad of cash I earned through my work as Peter Parker. 1,500. Just what we agreed on. Now talk. Where is this going down? Let me see the cash first. Then we can get down to business. Blackie spoke. I handed him the money. He then begins to start counting down the money I gave him. Blackie Gaxton. He is the manager and bookie in the Big Sky Lounge and was one of the men responsible for turning Mark Allen into Molten Man. In this universe, Blackie knows the underworld and the street of crime. He knows when something is going down. That is why I chose to make a partnership. I pay for information. He either takes the money I give him, or I interrogate him into giving me the information. Either way, I will get what I want. Humph. Blackie grunted before smiling. All right, something is going down today. Business dealings are going down in a warehouse. The location is on this paper. Now, good day to you, Spider-Man. After Blackie gave me the information, I headed into the city towards my destination. While I was swinging through the city, I suddenly heard a loud scream in one of the dark alleys. Ah, please don't touch me. As I ran towards the source of the sound, I saw one drunk man harassing a very beautiful Russian or maybe American race girl. Backing away. Surveying the situation, I have determined that the guy had bad intentions and was maybe planning to touch the girl. The girl struggled and screamed. Teenager, probably around my age. Definitely female, but with pale, white skin. She has light gray eyes and auburn hair. She wears thick, purple eyeshadow that goes around both of her eyes and has matching lipstick. Please don't touch me. Climbing closer and perching myself on the floor. Strange. Feels like I should know her? Regardless, I need to move in. You better listen to the chick and let her go. I commanded him, surprised by the sudden appearance of another party that was disturbing his fun. Piss off, freak. Leave us alone. He shouted the fact that a weird costume guy was standing on the second floor wall due to his apparent drunkenness. Ah, well then, soon from my soon-to-be best friend, Wade. Maximum effort, I said as I jumped down towards the guy. Punching the guy on the chin with an uppercut, I then jumped up and webbed his legs and pulled his whole body. I then stuck him on the first floor ledge. As the combat dispersed, I saw the girl looking shocked at what just happened in the alley. Are you okay, miss? Looking at her, the only thing I could think of was that she seemed very familiar, and I had seen her somewhere before. Seeing that she had not replied to me, I glanced at her and noticed that she was distracted by something on my body. Is something wrong? I asked, clearing my throat. Are you okay? I am fine. My name is 15 and I am Amory years old. Laughing at her mistake and embarrassment. She tries to fix her sentence but continues to mess up. Her name and look sound more formal too. Who is this and why can't I put my finger on it? Nice to meet you, Anne. Can you please call the police to deal with the guys? And I advise you don't stay out at night. Yes, no problem, Anne replied, as she tried to take a step forward but tripped. I catch her, but she screams at me not to touch her. Ah, please don't touch me.
I'm sorry.
I didn't want you to fall, that's all. I didn't want her to compare me to the rapist. I'm sorry, I didn't think. No, it's not your fault, Sugar. I just have skin issues. And replied back. I, however, was processing her words. Sugar? Skin issues? I'm such an idiot. It's Rogue. I then started to study her. She is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful mutants. I'm sorry. But do you mind if I hold your hand? I ask. She looks at me stunned and scared. You don't have to worry. I just want to test something. I can't. If I touch your skin, the damage I could do. She states, but I just wave my hands. Trust me, I know what you can do, I said while taking off my glove. Trust me, and plus, you might see something you like. She reluctantly extended her hand to me, and I did the same, and closed her eyes. She was waiting for the skin contact, then the pain of my yells, but all she felt was my hands. Given Rogue's unique mutant ability, touching her without triggering her absorption powers would be a challenging proposition. However, with careful understanding of the underlying mechanisms, it might be possible to develop a solution. The unique dynamic of Magneto's powers. As a master of magnetism, Magneto possesses precise control over electromagnetic fields. This control extends to the iron molecules present in the human body, enabling him to create a localized magnetic field that effectively shields him from Rogue's absorption abilities. The idea of utilizing my wall-crawling ability in a similar fashion to Magneto's control over electromagnetic fields is intriguing. While the mechanisms behind wall-crawling are fundamentally different from magnetism, there may be potential avenues to explore. One possibility is to harness my enhanced physiology to manipulate the surface tension of objects, effectively creating a localized adhesive field that allows me to control the adhesion between any body and surfaces. By fine-tuning this control, I could potentially regulate the degree of adhesion, allowing me to interact with objects and individuals without triggering my wall-crawling ability. Sí, no danger. No life drain, I told Rogue while still holding her hand. I wasn't planning on trying this until I had experimented with the idea more, but this was too much of a great chance to pass up. Rogue is frozen before she starts crying. I just wrap my arms around her and let her cry on my shoulder. Rogue's powers, stemming from her mutant ability to absorb the life force, memories, and abilities of others through physical contact, are both fascinating and complex. This absorption process, while involuntary, grants her temporary access to the absorbed individual's powers and memories. However, it also poses significant challenges, as prolonged contact can lead to permanent absorption and potential harm to the affected individual. Understanding Rogue's powers requires a deep understanding of mutant genetics and the intricacies of energy manipulation. Her abilities underscore the complexities of mutation and the ethical considerations surrounding the use of such powers. As a scientist and superhero, it's essential to approach Rogue's powers with empathy, recognizing both their potential and the risks they entail. Good now? Be careful, okay? I said and let go of her. Stay safe, Anne. As I got ready to depart, she quickly grabbed my arm. Wait, what is your name? Will I ever see you again? With her face blushing red like a tomato. Please. I can't touch people, and you're the only one I can touch without harming them. Giving her my best smile, even though it can't be seen behind my mask.
I'm Spiderman.
And it all depends on fate, but I believe we will meet each other one day in the near future. Great first date though, and let's meet in better circumstances. We definitely will meet again. I left while showing off my best moves. The smart thing for me to do when sneaking into a warehouse with armed guys with guns is not to alert them I'm here. Well, that would be if I were good at sneaking or stealth for that matter. Get him. Don't let him escape. One says it before running towards me before getting a straight punch to his jaw. Come on guys, you can't put up at least a bit of a fight. I antagonize 5 masked gunmen currently trying to shoot him down. I already took 8 of you down already. You guys can put up a better fight now if you want. Shut it, freak. You're going down for trying to stop big man's business dealings. Kid, one of the men shouted. Big man, huh? I guess we are close to spectacular after all. From a crappy warehouse? You realize this is just like a giant jungle gym for me, right? Rafters, beams, crates. Just so much fun to be had here. But I chose to just come out and beat you all up out in the open. I ran on, smiling under my mask. Shut the hell up. Damn it. Shoot him. Let's kill this freak. Another gunman shouted and opened fire at me. I didn't need my spider sense to be ticked off for me to quickly avoid the bullets with a bored sigh. They just don't make crazed gunman thugs like they used to. Let's go ahead and finish this up, shall we? I asked the group who clearly didn't hear me, which is unfortunate for them, and they just kept firing, missing every bullet. I shot out multiple strings of webbing at all the gunmen's rifles. Then I yanked the rifles from their grasps and leapt down to the center of their formed circle. Guys, I get that you weren't loved enough as kids, but honestly, do you really think this is the way to go about things? You couldn't have done construction or something? I asked, standing relaxed and stretching. If you want to leave this behind and go to something to further your life, then please leave. I won't tell anyone about what happened here. To hell with you. One of the men shouted and charged forward along with the other 4. These guys are stubborn, but I guess I can't say much, huh? I leapt up in the air and shot out 2 web lines to 2 of the attackers and pulled them against the crates, knocking them out cold. I landed behind the remaining 3 attackers and in less than 12 seconds had kicked, punched, and thrown each one to join their unconscious coworkers. I stood up and looked around at his surroundings. 12 seconds? Getting better, but not fast enough. I need to cut back on the jokes, it seems, and keep the plea, I said to myself as I looked around myself. I guess I'll send this video to the cops and then later have this posted on the internet. I'm gonna have to wire this so it cannot be traced back to me. I'm not in the 2020 era anymore, but this universe era has way better tech advancements than my era. As I finished speaking, I thought to myself, I sound like an old man. After a few moments of tying up loose ends, I got a few texts from people. First was Anya, with 3 missed calls and 2 messages. I read one of the messages she sent me saying she wants to go over Geodian's update and later their project, which I have been neglecting and haven't even remembered we were even doing a project. Peter, we need to update Geodion. We were supposed to do that together before you left. We also need to begin on our project together soon. If I don't hear back from before this day is over, there will be hell to pay. Good job, Parker. Now you have a girl angry at you. Not just any girl, but the demon you work with. Next was Gwen. She was reminding me about the field trip tomorrow and seems to be looking forward to it, which I was also looking forward to for the field trip tomorrow as well, but for a completely different reason. Next is Eddie, asking if he wants to hang out at ESU with him and meet the Connors. I knew the underline of Eddie's wording was, "We haven't hung out in a while, Pete, and I want to introduce you to the Connors so you can work here one day," which a part of me wanted to meet the Connors. Mainly the scientist part of me wants to meet them, but the other part of me doesn't want to accidentally help create the lizard. Finally, it was Jean wishing me good night. Sweet. But I don't plan to sleep tonight, or even go home tonight. Uncle Ben and Aunt May is already asleep, and Horizon is open over hours. This is a perfect opportunity to do the finishing touches on the suit. Horizon, while sneaking into Horizon at the dead of night after finishing crime fighting. I sneakily walk towards my lab to begin the finishing touches on my suit, until I run into the demon himself. Or herself. It was Anya. Peter. I hear her voice behind me as I freeze. She then begins to question my whereabouts and why I'm coming into Horizon so late. Where have you been? What are you doing here at this hour? I could hear the suspicion in her voice. I needed to come up with an idea fast. Oh, you know Anya, I said, trailing off a bit as her gaze settled on me. Just came to finish some work, you know? Anya, even more suspicious of me, begins to formulate a question. Work? At this time? What kind of work? Well, I said with her looking only at me and only at me. I came to work on Gideon. Yes, I came to work on updating Gideon. Oh, okay, Anya said with a hint of sarcasm. And what about our project? Project? Yes, our project. The one for the expo. Oh, right, the expo. I almost forgot about that. Well, I guess it's good that you're dedicated to this expo. Huh, Anya. She looks at me while raising an eyebrow. I begin to sweat a little and can continue to speak. Let's put our heads together and come up with something amazing. Yeah, let's. She then begins to walk off towards her lab. I was left standing there like an idiot. Well, they're working on the suit. I thought before I started walking towards catching up with Anya. The suit should be fine. I just have to get ready and everything should just be alright. I then caught up with Anya. We then headed into her lab to begin to come up with ideas for the expo together. She then explains the project is for the Stark Expo in 1 month and begins brainstorming ideas. After a few hours passed, I decided to head home. I was too tired to finish the suit, and I'll need all the energy I could get for tomorrow. So I grabbed my new suit and began walking home. Scratch that, I swing home. Time skip, school. Entering the school, we see Gwen, Harry, Clayton, Michelle, Jean, and Jessica Jones. Isn't today the school field trip? Jessica Jones spoke, looking like she just got out of bed. Yeah, it is. I can't wait to see the inside of Oscorp. It's like a dream come true for scientists everywhere. Clayton exclaimed with excitement. Where is Peter? Gwen's voice cut through the chatter, inquiring about Peter's whereabouts. He called and said he wasn't going to make it. Harry responds instantly but looks towards his friends again. What happened? Gwen asks, worried about my health. He was looking forward to this. What happened? I don't know. He just texted me to have fun on the field trip and enjoy ourselves. He said he was feeling under the weather. Harry, ever the loyal friend, fabricated a tale of me falling ill and being unable to attend the excursion. A ruse crafted from my own words. He didn't text me anything. Gwen thought to herself. Well, I guess he won't be joining us. Bummer. He was the only cool one in the group. Michelle states, which everyone gives her a side-eye for. Haha, very funny, Michelle. But we both know I'm the cool one in our little motley crew, Jean said in a joking manner, which everyone laughs at, not because it's funny, because they're all friends at the end of the day. Okay guys, we need to head to class. Come on, Harry led with the others following. I hope Peter's okay, Gwen thought to herself. Little did they know, I was orchestrating my own excursion within the depths of Oscorp's secretive domain. Manhattan, 1ST/3RD person view. Perched atop a nearby building, I surveyed Oscorp Tower with a mix of apprehension and determination, clad in my green and black spider suit, which blended seamlessly into the shadows of the alleys. It's a lot more opposing than I thought it would be, I said while observing Oscorp. Well, it's too late to back out now. My heightened senses attuned to the slightest movement below from my vantage point. I could see the imposing silhouette of the tower looming against the bright sky. Its windows glow with the flickering lights of activity within. Each floor held secrets waiting to be uncovered, mysteries begging to be solved. With a silent determination, I activated my web shooters and swung gracefully through the city streets, closing the distance between myself and Oscorp Tower with each fluid motion. My movements were swift and purposeful, a testament to years of knowledge of swinging and of recent training. Instincts not nearly honed enough in the crucible of New York City. As I neared my destination, the familiar rush of adrenaline coursed through my veins once more, fueling my resolve. With a silent vow, I set my sights on the towering edifice before me, ready to confront whatever challenges lay in my path. Those who don't jump will never fly. Here we go. With a final leap, I landed on the side of Oscorp Tower, my grip firm and unwavering. From this vantage point, I could see the security measures in place, the guards patrolling the perimeter with watchful eyes. But I was no stranger to danger. With a silent prayer to the fates, I began my ascent, scaling the side of the tower with the agility of my namesake. Each handhold was a testament to my skill. Each foothold is a testament to my determination. As I reached the upper levels, I paused to catch my breath, my eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble. But the day was loud, the city below shrouded in busting lights. With a sense of grim purpose, Spider-Man continued my climb, inching ever closer to the secrets hidden within Oscorp Tower. For tonight, the fate of the city rested in his hands. Clad in my stealth suit, I moved like a shadow through the dimly lit corridors of Oscorp Tower. My heart pounded in my chest as I bypassed security checkpoints and avoided surveillance cameras with practiced ease. Getting past surveillance was the most stressful and empowering feeling. I know my stealth skills are trash, and anyone who just looks up will see me. Good thing my senses help warn me when I'm about to be caught. Hopefully, I don't get surprise Green Goblin appearances. The presence of Norman Osborn himself, leading the tour, provided the perfect distraction for my clandestine activities. With Osborn's attention diverted with the tour of Oscorp, I found this to be the best opportunity to slip into the heart of the research facility. With Osborn's attention diverted by the tour he was leading, I seized the opportunity to slip into the heart of Oscorp's research facility. My movements were as silent as I wanted to be, my breaths shallow as I navigated the maze of hallways and laboratories. As Norman Osborn regaled the group with tales of innovation and progress, I moved with purpose, utilizing my stealth suit to slip past security undetected. With each passing moment, I drew closer to my objectives, driven by a mixture of determination and apprehension. Meanwhile, amidst the tour group's fascination with Oscorp's marvels, my absence went unnoticed by most. Gwen's concern lingered, but Harry's reassurance placated any suspicions for the time being. However, notified that there was an intrusion, Norman made an excuse himself from the tour to get to the bottom of it. As I was bypassing security cameras and slipped past unsuspecting guards, my mind raced with the potential dangers of what I sought to uncover. Goblin Green, radioactive archnans, and other military-grade weapons, each project held the potential for both innovation and catastrophe in equal measure. I finally make it to the computers of Oscorp and start hacking. My skills have grown greatly since I started practicing. Hacking into Oscorp is going to be easier than, say, hacking into Stark Industries or the Baxter Building. From what I'm seeing from Oscorp's defenses, that might be very accurate to what I say. As I accessed the secure database and downloaded files on Oscorp's most classified projects, my fingers flew across the keyboard with precision and speed. My senses heightened, alert for any sign of detection as I worked to complete my mission. In the heart of Oscorp's research facility, my fingers danced across the keyboard, accessing files and data that held the keys to Oscorp's most guarded secrets. With each download, the weight of his actions grew heavier, tempered only by the knowledge that the information I sought could potentially save lives. As I scrolled through project after project, my mind raced with the possibilities and implications of each discovery. From the enigmatic Goblin Green to the revolutionary mechanical appendages, every entry held the potential to shape the future in ways both wondrous and perilous. With each click, I uncovered blueprints detailing the inner workings of Oscorp's most ambitious endeavors: the Sun Generator, the Tech Flight Program, and the elusive Super Soldier Serum. My eyes widened with each revelation, my mind racing to comprehend the magnitude of what lay before me. Let's see. I start to scroll through different projects on screen. Mechanical appendages, Sun Generator, Tech Flight, Battle Armor, Cloning, replacing human body parts with robotics, artificial intelligence, weapon projects, weapon fails, blueprints, exosuits, power plants, robotics, but amidst the wealth of information, my attention was drawn to a single folder, its contents shrouded in secrecy and speculation. With a mix of trepidation and determination, I opened the file, revealing the blueprint for the electric plasma jet engine, a marvel of technology with the potential to revolutionize transportation as we know it. I was thinking of a way of transportation but didn't really have the right technology or blueprint. But this electric plasma jet engine from these blueprints shows that it has potential to reach the moon. I pull out a hard drive and start downloading all that Oscorp has to offer while I continue to scroll through it once more. I deftly accessed the secure databases, downloading files on everything from tech flight to cloning, from weapon projects to artificial intelligence. This is too easy. But just as I thought I was in the clear, a faint beep echoed through the corridor. Beep, the telltale sign of an intrusion alarm. With a sinking feeling in my gut, I knew I had most of it discovered.
Ah, Sourapple.
I look at my suit and see my invisibility isn't, well, making me invisible. What's going on? I try to turn on my suit's invisibility. Nothing. I started sweating more and more. What is going on with this thing? With quick thinking, I tried to upload the last of the files to my secure drive and made a dash for the exit. Every nerve in my body screamed for me to run, to evade capture, and to disappear into the day. As I prepared to depart, my heightened senses caught wind of a heated exchange echoing through the halls. Curiosity piqued, I stealthily followed the sound, leading him to an unexpected confrontation between two familiar faces, Adrian Toombs and Dr. Otto Octavius. Hiding in the shadows, I listened intently as the discussion turned into a bitter argument over the theft of Toombs' magnetic air transport system by Norman Osborn. I blame you for this. You told me to try out my magnetic air transport system. Magnetic air transport system? I think I saw that in the file about tech flight. They did have similarities, but not enough to warrant Norman stealing it completely. I thought to myself as I listened. But then again, this is Norman. I know. You arranged the testing of it all, and I had the best intention. It was a complete failure, and I was fired for it. And not only that, Norman studied my ideas and rejected them. Then announces Oscorp Tech Flight 4 months later. Toombs, his voice thick with frustration, accused Osborn of pilfering his invention after it failed during a test run. Now Toombs, if you would like to look at the blueprints of the... Before the other person could finish their sentence to who is now identified as Toombs, another very familiar voice spoke out. You will do no such thing, Doctor. Oscorp has nothing to show non-Oscorp employees, especially fired ones. Norman Osborn spoke with authority and passion, along with holding a drink in his hand. Before Peter could process the implications of their conversation, Norman Osborn himself arrived on the scene, his imposing presence commanding attention. In a tense exchange, Osborn confronted Toombs, accusing him of intruding into Oscorp's inner sanctum. When Norman finds Toombs, he soon believes it was Toombs who had intruded in Oscorp. Nothing to do? Osborn, you stole my work. Toombs exclaims as two guards grab his arms. That's very dangerous talk, Mr. Toombs. Dangerous, unsupportable, and untrue, Norman said, then proceeded to take a drink. Untrue, Toombs yelled with passion and hatred. Listen, you old buzzard. You've been at this for magnetic air transport system decades without one success to your name, Norman said with an unknown amount of arrogance. If you never accomplished anything as a young man, who'd believe you created tech flight as an old one? Osborn spoke with a mix of defiance and resentment. True, I did take some notes from your work to finish what I, and many others, saw as a complete failure. Did I take you to work? No, I perfected it. I was planning on giving you some payment, but you ruined Oscorp's image enough. Osborn asserted his superiority, claiming that while he may have drawn inspiration from Toombs' work, his own advancements in technology far surpassed anything Toombs had ever conceived. And thank you for testing my safety alarms. Boys, show the old buzzard out. Norman then argues he did take notes from the magnetic air transport system to make tech flight. He dismissed Toombs' claims as obsolete, asserting his authority and superiority in the realm of innovation. As two guards begin to drag Toombs out, he looks toward his longtime partner, Octavius. Good news, coward. I don't blame you anymore. Norman, I swear to take something important from you. Just like what you're doing to me. Now that the old bird is gone, Octavius, how come your two inventions? It's going well with some more time and work. I just need to stabilize and perfect the arms. Then we will be ready to start testing. And how long will that take? About 2 more months, sir. 2 months. No, that's far too late. Have it done in 3 weeks. What? Mr. Osborne? Sir, that is way too short. I need more time and research to have it ready. It will take 2 months at the least to get this done. I can't wait that long, and neither can my competition. What do you mean, competition? The Stark Expo is still far away from now and dash. There's been word that Stark had made a miniature arc reactor, and he also built a new weapon that trumps anything he built up to this point. And Richard and Victor are coming back from space tomorrow. I needed this up and ready yesterday. Understand? Octavius? Norman stares at the glass being thrown across the room. Yes, sir. Back to my point of view. Well, good news and bad news. I didn't trigger the alarms, thankfully. But this part is scarily similar to Spectacular with minor changes. Like with Otto in the Spectacular series, he's much more cowardly and already has his tentacles. But this one doesn't have either. He sounds and acts like Insomniac and is working for OS Corp. Tooms was almost like an exact replica of Spectacular before he got betrayed. I'll have to come back to that later for Osborne and Otto. I need to deal with Tooms and his vulture persona before it's too late. But I also have to begin research into this tech. After listening in from the other side of the wall, I quickly check the hard drive to see it has completely retrieved all the information I viewed. I take the drive and begin to search for a few more things. My insatiable curiosity led him to the Super Soldier Serum files, a project shrouded in mystery and danger. With a few keystrokes, he uploaded the data to his secure drive, ensuring it wouldn't fall into the wrong hands. But when I came across a lab, I was going to just ignore it. But then I saw them. A formula with the name of Green. However, my mission wasn't solely about information. In a daring move, I located the chamber containing the genetically modified spiders. The key to his own transformation. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, he carefully secured 5 of the arachnids, knowing their potential to change his life forever. Acquiring knowledge was about seizing an opportunity. With a calculated risk, I located the chamber housing the genetically enhanced spiders, a pivotal moment in his journey towards becoming something more. I then leave the computer room and locate the room. Found it! This must mean I'm in the main lab, and if that's what I'm thinking it is, then this is do or die. I sling 2 web lines and pull myself over to the inside of the lab. I need to get those spiders and those canisters of green. I then start to climb the walls over to the spiders and begin to observe a few of the spiders. 0, 0, 12, 20, 28, 34, and 42. Those should be the most valuable spiders. I can take a few of these with me. I then open 6 containers and put them in. They weren't as difficult as I thought they would be. They seemed to understand what I was doing. Alright, now for these bad boys. I then take 2 canisters of green. Alright, now it's time to hide my involvement. Let's see. If I were to unleash a contamination burnout, where would that be? Oh, there it is. As the tour drew to a close and the group prepared to depart, I enacted my final gambit, triggering the contamination alarm and setting a controlled blaze, masking my intrusion and ensuring my escape went undetected. I see a few buttons and a lever. After hitting them and making my way out, I see fire engulf the lab and the alarms go off. As he made his escape, I triggered the contamination alarm, a fail-safe designed to protect Oscorp's most sensitive research. With a sense of satisfaction and a tinge of regret, he ignited a small blaze, erasing any evidence of his intrusion. This seems like my way out. I then begin to run out of the lab and through OS Corp hallways at top speed. The only reason I wasn't seen or spotted, I was running on the ceiling. So with the tour happening downstairs, Tooms making a ruckus down there, Norman in the middle of this chaos, and his important lab being burned down. In the darkness of the alleys, I vanished into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of questions and secrets that would shake Oscorp to its core. As I reached the exit, I glanced back one last time, my heart heavy with the knowledge of what I had uncovered. With a final surge of adrenaline, I vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only questions and uncertainty in my wake. In the aftermath, as the group returned to Midtown High, None were the wiser to my nocturnal activities. Yet, amidst the facade of normalcy, Oscorp's secrets remained in the hands of one determined teenager, setting the stage for a new chapter in the ongoing saga of Spider-Man. But unbeknownst to me, a white hare watched from afar. Her keen eyes followed my every move with a mixture of curiosity and intrigue. Oh, my kitten's senses are tingling. In under 10 minutes, I was able to make it back home. I doubted anyone got a good look at me based on the speed at which I was going through the building. I couldn't stop and fret at that moment. My friend's father was going to be in danger soon. The vulture, Toombs, is going to try and kill Norman Osborn. The original Spider-Man was determined to not let a father figure be taken away, especially Harry's own father. But me, even though Norman deserves it, can I just let Norman get killed by Toombs? Should Norman die? 616 Peter would save him again and again, but knowing what he becomes, can I really honestly save that monster and live with the things he would do? Then again, what about Harry? Harry might just take Norman's place if Norman died. And if Harry dies, then another person takes his place and vice versa. I spoke out loud before sighing. Norman stole the anti-gravity project. But then again, it's not like Toombs wouldn't become some evil douche in the future. I look at the time, 2:25 p.m. I told Uncle Ben and Aunt May it be that I was feeling ill and couldn't muster the strength to go to school. My Oscorp scourge took at most an hour. Uncle Ben should still be at work while Aunt May should be at Anna Watson. I told them both not to worry about me after a few hours after school ended. I didn't want to worry them about this, but now they think Horizon is overwhelming me. Just great. Parker, luck sucks. If it weren't for my sickness, then I would have gone straight to Horizon and to my lab to go over this thumb drive with all Oscorp secrets. But now I need Rika to transfer all the data from here to Horizon in my secret folder. On that topic, Rika, can you send all the information to Horizon in my secret folder in my room? Yes, Peter. Also, Peter, do you want to see the recording of today's activities? Later, I need to prepare for my first opponent. And may I ask who is this opponent you speak of is? His name is Adrian Toombs, aka soon to be the Vulture. His tech, or something similar to it, will be in the drive I'm uploading into my computer to send to my secret folder at Horizon. Take a peek while you do that. Alright then, I will be sure to do that. Also do a scan on my stealth suit, will you? Yes, was there a problem with the suit? Yes, it malfunctioned while I was in the field, leaving me vulnerable to capture. Please find out the problem with it and let me know what happened. Right away, sir. Alright, talk later, Rika. I need to prepare and talk to my parents. It's been a few since I talked to them. Maybe I'll have dinner now. I have only been eating protein bars. This dieting has helped with my body transformation, but eating normal food here and there will work. I'll just work off the extra calories, which would be a good diet for a human man, but not for an enhanced superhuman who is constantly burning calories daily. I would need at least 4 times the amount for this to work, which burns the question. How in the living hell did Peter not starve to death as Spider-Man? Question for later. With my Horizon paycheck, I was able to help Uncle Ben with the bills, even though it took a lot of persuading on my part. I didn't bother telling Aunt May, knowing that was a losing battle. With what I have left over from my paycheck, I use it for food and groceries. So let's see. 5 fist-sized portions of cooked chicken, 5 hard-boiled eggs, 3 bananas, for apples, some broccoli, 3 carrots, and some bread with a large glass of both milk and water. Is this healthy? I have no clue. Does this bother me? No, not one bit. I like eating and this works for me. I'll still need to invent some type of actual diet plan, but that's later down the line. Maybe some type of protein bars that can make up for some of this? Regardless, I start gathering the remaining fruits and vegetables and put them in a separate bowl. Grapes, sliced apples, sliced oranges, sliced bananas, cheese, celery, pepperoni, ranch, and crackers. I neatly put them in a tray to the side and leave them over there. This isn't for me, but for Aunt May and Uncle Ben. I'm not cruel enough to make something for myself and not for my parents. They should be here soon, so I want to eat 3/4 of the food I have set for myself. I could probably get away with the fact that I'm a growing boy routine, but that sounds way too demeaning for my taste. A few minutes go by in a flash. I turn on the TV and begin to watch for any sign of the vulture. Nothing yet, so quickly scarf down my meal. Luckily I did. After I finish 67% of it, I hear the front door open. Expecting Aunt May have come back already from and Watson and Uncle Ben not being back from work for another few minutes. I call out to her from the kitchen. Aunt May, I'm in the kitchen, I yelled, not wanting her to walk up the stairs to my room to search for me. Oh, Peter, are you feeling better already? I hear her question. I could also hear another breath beside her own. Yes, thank you, Aunt May, I said. I've been trying to learn how to understand heartbeats with my super hearing. But no dice still, so I have no idea who she is with, probably Annie Watson or probably Uncle Ben coming from work to check on me. As Aunt May rounds the corner, I see a hint of red. Peter, it's good to see you up and at it. I even brought someone special to come and cheer you up. I get up from my seat to look at the woman beside Aunt May. She had beautiful red hair and gorgeous green eyes, with an amazing figure. Hey there, Tiger, you look good for a sick person, she said with a joking tone. I look at her with a slight surprise. Mary Jane, what are you doing here? I ask, not noticing the tone I used. Mary Jane slightly frowned at my words, while Aunt May looked like a little. Before I could do anything, Aunt May had a very too sweet face and a more too sweet tone. Peter Benjamin Parker. She had come to check on you. You should at least say hello. Yes, ma'am, I said, a little fearful, while Mary Jane giggles a little at our antics. I turned to her with a smile on my face. Sorry, Mary Jane. I didn't mean for it to come out rudely. It's good to see you, Mary Jane. MJ had a neutral face for some reason, but her smile grew, and she responded, Good to see you too, Tiger. I see you're feeling better. She then looks around, spotting the assortment of fruit and vegetables. Wow, Tiger, this looks nice. Thanks. I made this for Aunt May and Uncle Ben when they arrived. You can have some if you want, Mary Jane, I said. I looked towards Mary Jane to see her frowning. Why is she frowning? I was being nice, wasn't I? I don't want to intrude on your guys' meal, especially for your aunt and uncle. She spoke. She then continued. I think it would be best for me to leave. I only came to check on you, Peter. And seeing as you're all right, I'll head out. I can feel a hint of hesitation and hurt, and her wanting to leave seems a little too forced. Why? Is she hurt emotionally? Why does she want to leave so soon? It is my first time talking to Mary Jane one-on-one. Usually we just greet each other in class and move on. Oh, don't be that way, Mary. Aunt May cut off Mary Jane's escape. You don't have to worry about little old me hogging all the ore for Ben. Ben will be out for a little while longer finishing up work. Before I could comment on Uncle Ben coming home late, I spotted the television broadcast. Breaking news. Famed Oscorp CEO and millionaire, Norman Osborn, is being held hostage by a man claiming to be called the Vulture. Well, time's up. Hero time. I'm with me now in my spider costume, above 100 meters in the air. Woo-hoo! I screamed as I fell towards the ground at terminal velocity before using a web line to swing at high speeds around the city. My heart was pounding, threatening to burst from my chest, as I perfectly performed flying flips and narrow dodges between cars, clotheslines and alleys, and the occasional signs and billboards with holes. I was going so fast. I needed to get faster. After I departed from home, I haven't stopped moving at this speed. 3 minutes have passed since then, since talking to her.
I'm Niren Oscorp.
My thoughts drift back to when I left. Back to her. Flashback. Parker residence. Peter, where do you think you are going? Aunt May spoke to me as I made a break for the door. I was going to Oscorp to make sure Harry was okay along with his mom. I said as if I had practiced over 100 times. I'm not the original Peter who makes terrible lies. Size okay? I know you are worried about your friend, but be careful, Peter, and please stay out of trouble, she said, and I nodded my head to her. Of course, Aunt May. I just need to go grab something from my room, and then I'll head out. I head upstairs, while Aunt May looks at me with a worried expression as I run up the stairs to my room. Aunt May then looks to MJ, as she looks to have been in thought about something. MJ, sweetie, are you okay? You seem to be spaced out about something, Aunt May said, a little worried for her. Snapping her out of her thoughts, MJ then smiles and responds to Aunt May in a kind tone. Oh, I'm fine, Miss Parker. Then she gets a mean look from May. MJ immediately knew she messed up and immediately corrected her words. I meant Aunt May. Sorry. May. I just was so lost in thought that I forgot to call you that. It's fine, sweetie. I could never be mad at you, dearly. Aunt May spoke and made MJ feel more at home than before. She used to love to come and see Aunt May. She was always so nice and warm. Plus, there was always Peter. Peter. All right, I'm heading out, I said, making my way towards the door once more with a backpack on my back. Aunt May paid no mind to this, but Mary Jane did. Peter, wait. I'll come with you. She spoke as I was already out the door with Mary Jane hot on my tail. Peter, wait up. Sorry, Mary Jane, but I prefer to do this on my own. You should head home. I said I didn't feel comfortable with MJ around. It's not like she makes me uncomfortable. It's actually the opposite. I would love to have MJ around, but there's too much history here for me to be comfortable being close to her in any way. Peter, it's just that. She spoke but started to mumble in a low tone. I just stare at her patiently as I just take in her appearance. I just saw you one night and, I could tell where this is going. This is probably about me being Spider-Man. Why are you only calling me Mary Jane again? You haven't done that since we first met and when you were shy. Is everything okay between us? Mary Jane spoke in a questioning voice. I started to think to myself as I thought about it. Have I only been calling Mary Jane instead of MJ? I know it's a little weird, but I don't know Mary MJ enough to call her that nickname. I have memories of calling her MJ, but I'm used to calling her Mary Jane because, well, that was what I called her while reading or watching movies and comic books. We also don't talk anymore, Tiger. I'm worried that you don't want to be friends anymore, MJ said in a sad tone of voice, which made me feel completely guilty. I hate being a teenager. First rule of dealing with a woman. Apologize. Sorry, MJ, if I have been a little distant as of late. I thought that you wanted to keep up your popularity at school and not be seen as a puny Parker of all people. I said, then looking down. Really, Peter? Do I seem that shallow? MJ responded in a hurt but somewhat joking tone. I, however, didn't catch that and immediately put my mouth into overdrive. What? No, that's not what. It's not really. I apologize sincerely for the mistake. Before I could continue to apologize, I heard MJ snort and hold down a giggle. I looked at her to see her smiling. I then released a sigh as I was just making a fool out of myself. She was joking with me. Ha ha ha. You got me. I responded with a sigh along with a smile. I'll get you back for this, MJ. Haha. Okay, Tiger, whatever you say. But regardless of popularity, you know you're kind of popular right now as well. I am. Wait, it's not like any kind sweet, cute, gentle nerd becomes more refined and dashing than all the football players in a couple months, who also beat the star quarterback after becoming friends with him. Well, when you put it like that, I smiled while rubbing my head before realization struck me. What am I doing right now? Vulture is gonna kill Norman, and I'm here smiling away like an idiot. I need to move. Sorry, MJ, but I need to go and make sure Harry is okay. Will we talk later? Promise, I said as I turned my back to her. Before I could run away, she grabbed my arm before I got too far away. For some reason, I can't seem to shake her off. I have super strength. I should easily shake her off with no difficulty, but I can't. I just turned around and stared right at her, right into her beautiful green eyes. Peter, there's something else I need to tell you. MJ, later, I interrupted her. But Peter, it's important. I saw you. Mary Jane, I know. We will talk, but later. I just need some time. Okay? I said back to her. My and her eyes are not leaving each other. After what feels like an eternity, she finally lets go. And I wish she didn't. Present time, OS Corp. I finally made it to OS Corp. I then landed on top of the OS Corp tower. Different from before, as I am now wearing my red and blue costume instead of my Parker clothing. Original red and blue for my first hero versus villain battle. I wasn't going to fight my first supervillain in my stealth suit. Plus, the stealth suit is for a stealthy Spider-Man. I breathed deeply, having enjoyed my web swinging away from home. Finally, my first supervillain has arrived. I can't wait, even though it's the Vulture. Call it overconfidence, but this is so awesome and exciting. My first actual fight against a supervillain. Up to this point, there was no difficulty. Guys with bats, crowbars, and guns weren't that interesting to me and were easily handled while holding back. Bank heist was different, but I had already prepared in advance for those types of situations. Vulture might be one of Spider-Man's rogues, but he was an old guy with a grudge. I might have some difficulty, but I knew I would come out on top. But there was something else bothering me at this moment. No, not something, but someone. Her. Mary Jane. I can't stop thinking about her. I already guessed she would know I'm Spider-Man due to me calling her MJ in the alley, and our houses being so close to each other that she would see me leave the house at least once or twice as Spider-Man. That's how she finds out in a comic book, I believe. Regardless, I need to focus on the task on hand. Defeat Vulture and save Norman. I breathed in and out. I felt relaxed and ready to go for another swing until I sensed something going through my range. I see a green blur race past. I look back to see Adrian in his costume, which in modern terms for science geeks was breathtaking. But then I noticed Norman Osborn. He wasn't struggling. He looks to be barely moving. This hit hard. It all hit hard at this moment. I couldn't stop and fret at that moment. His friend's father was in danger, and in the span that it took to make it here, he would have already failed. The Vulture might have already killed Norman Osborn. And he was here having the time of his life without a worry in the world. He was determined to not let a father figure be taken away, even if it's Norman Osborn. I then jumped from my posted spot and began my chase of both villain and, sooner or later, villain. It then became apparent that I wasn't catching up to them fast enough. Did I burn through too much of my energy? Or was Vulture always this fast? I begin to analyze my opponent. No, wait, he's carrying Norman, meaning that he could be even faster without holding dead weight. I need to stop him before he escapes, or worse, succeeds. He then sees the Vulture circling the top of OS Corp. I could already see 3 choppers slowly circling the building as well. 2 of them belonged to the NYPD, and the other belonged to the news. The NYPD Hello's searchlight beam was moving frantically as if it were drawing something on the exterior of the Oscorp building. This was it, I thought. Excitement starts to exert itself in my voice. This is gonna be my first public appearance. This would also be his first supervillain fight. Yeah, a fight between a teenager who calls himself Spider-Man and an old guy in his late 50s wearing a metal flight suit called the Vulture. Wow, my life is only to get weirder from here. I pondered to myself as I studied the situation I was currently in. It could be worse. Could be in DC with no powers. I shrugged before firing a web line at the underside of the NYPD helicopter. Then I leaped and drove my momentum forward, swinging lower, and then thrusting forward with all my might. My figure could be seen high in the air for a few seconds before I stuck to Oscorp's upper levels, where the Osborn's office was located. Beginning my venture towards the boss fight, climbing up the walls of Oscorp. It didn't take long for attention to find its way to me. The news helicopter was already ascending and closing in towards me, most likely to get a better glimpse of their new hero. Once I reached the railing of the Osborn penthouse balcony, Peter could already hear the faint voices of Norman Osborn and Vulture. I took position by perching atop the railing. Now I could take in the situation clearly. My eyes widen in fear at the revelation in front of me. Harry Osborn is being held captive by the Vulture. Fear seeps into my soul. But that wouldn't be enough for me to deal with. Emily Osborn is there as well. Harry and Emily Osborn were bound, blindfolded, and gagged near the staircase. How come I didn't know this? Dear God, Harry and his mom could die if I'm not able to save them both. I need to stop Vulture. Now. No, Parker, don't be so hasty. Observe first, plan second, then act. I then begin to observe both Norman, Vulture, Harry, and finally Emily. I was thankful that my best friend seemed to be all right, but he was sure this was going to be a traumatizing experience that couldn't be easily brushed aside. To the side, Norman Osborn was also bound but lacked the blindfold and the gag. He seemed to be having a heated argument with Adrian. Speaking of Adrian, I could now see why he was always called the Vulture in comics. He had wings. Artificial wings, if my analysis was correct, and highly advanced, too. His suit seems to be an advanced exoskeleton. However, the most distinct feature was his baldness and his pointed nose. If he weren't called the Vulture, then Buzzard would be a great alternative. Of course, I could hear exactly what the two were arguing about, even considering that the balcony doors were shut. A means to an end, Osborn. Something you know all about. You will announce to the world that Adrian Toombs is the genius behind TechFlight. You will pay me all that I am owed. And you will publicly apologize for stealing MY invention. Adrian bellowed with anger, but Norman's anger was more present. I never apologize, old man. Norman spoke with venom. Adrian, seeing the way Norman spoke, however, wasn't showing anger or rage at Norman, but a smirk was on his face. Oh, I know you won't be Norman, but maybe you should think about those two over there before you say never. Adrian then swung his wing towards both his hostages. Luckily, his wing misses Emily but leaves a cut on Harry's arm. Harry! Harry! Norman and Emily screamed while screaming in my mind. Anger is present in all of our minds towards Adrian. Toombs, I swear to God.
I'm gonna.
Adrian, on the other hand, smiles at Norman's powerless self before cutting him off with his wing. I may be an old man, Norman, but I'm not a very patient one. One thing went through my mind at this moment. The Osborns were in danger. Harry's in danger. And Vulture is gonna pay. All right, it's my time to shine, I said enthusiastically, hopping off the railing and starting to approach. I take back what I said about not bringing the stealth suit. This would have been a lot easier with it being here. Thankfully, the Vulture and Norman didn't seem to notice my appearance, making the element of surprise all the better. Comically, I approached the door, my body filled to the brim with anticipation. All right then, let's do this. Lights. Suddenly I was encompassed in a bright light courtesy of the NYPD searchlight, its helicopter hovering beside the news chopper. Camera. He pointed knowingly at the news chopper. Action. Then I took the time to get a full view of the roof. He noticed quite a few unmoving bodies that belonged to Oscorp security lying on the floor. My heart started to sink a little, but I noticed no blood. Thankfully. The lack of blood gave the idea that they were knocked out, so that was better than them being dead. Quite a relief. I thought to myself. Then I spotted the Vulture begin to raise his wings to do who knows what to Norman. I would make my move as Spiderman soon. Time's up, Norman. You get to choose the mother or the son. Or how about both your legs as a start? Vulture yelled with enthusiasm in his voice at Norman's peril. Norman could only grunt in anger and frustration. Why you? Norman let out but was cut off by a sound. I knocked loudly against the wall, head still peeking in. This gained the attention of Norman Osborn and the Vulture. Oh, hey. I heard there was an elder up here who needed to be put to sleep. I glanced at the unconscious Oscorp security force and then back to Toombs. You do look pretty old to me, old man. About time I put you to rest, Grandpa. Norman stared at the brightly colored individual acting all casual and even joking about the situation, while Harry, even in this situation, laughs behind his gag. Adrian Toombs, on the other hand, was angered at being called old once again. What is this? And who are you? Sorry, forgot to introduce myself. I'm still a little new to this. I'm Spiderman, I said as I stepped closer. And you? Buzzard. are my enemy. Suddenly, Vulture's face was coated on the web. He immediately went for his face to get rid of the foreign substance, growling frustratingly. Hopefully we can get along, buzzard. All I could hear from Toomps was grunts before I heard him say something. My name isn't Buzzard, you annoying insect, he said, getting the webbing off his face before staring me down. My name is the Vulture. I immediately went into action. I sent another web towards Toomps' face, once more blinding him. While Vulture was distracted, I went for a flying roundhouse kick that, sure enough, connected with Vulture's face, sending him staggering and falling to the ground. Turning around, I faced Norman Osborn and quickly untied him. Mr. Osborn, get you and your family out of here while I deal with Spider Sense. I swiftly dodged an attack from the Vulture as he zoomed toward me. I touched the back of my neck to see blood. I quickly wrapped my wound. Too fast. Way too fast. Even with my Spider Sense, dodging and keeping up with him will be difficult. I see Vulture coming straight for me as I then truly hone in on Vulture. To my hearing, to my smell, to my sight, I narrowly avoided Toomps' slash and quickly attaching a web line to the back of Adrian. My last words to Norman Osborn as I hitched a ride on Vulture were, "Go! Get out, whoa!" With that, Norman rubbed his bruised hands and watched as Spider-Man and the Vulture took their brawl outside. His eyes narrowed for a moment before moving to untie his wife and then his son, zooming past buildings at improbable speed. I was holding on for dear life. Even with sticking powers, this was difficult. "Get off, you fool," Vulture said as he maneuvered himself around buildings and increased his speed in hopes of making the arachnid fall. That would not turn out to be the case. Not happening. I then proceeded to land on a building and use my webbing to slingshot myself to Vulture's back. Time to end this. I readied my fist to break open his back. Then I launched my fist into the Vulture's back. Time to ground this bird. Crack. HHH. I screamed, letting go of the villain for a second to tend to my nearly broken hand. Vulture just smiles at this. Fool, this dog may be old, but never too old to have a few tricks up his sleeve. My tech is protected by reinforced steel, I know. Wrong. In a fit of rage, the Vulture changed his course and slammed his back to a building, making Spider-Man lose his grip. Gah! Ouch! I screamed before having to catch him in the building. The Vulture hovers right above me. Now that Spider-Man was off him, he turned and hovered to face the apparent myth who was perched on the side of the building to face the Vulture. My tech isn't reinforced by something as mundane as steel. The metal I'm using for your brainless mind is called carbonadium. Vulture spoke out loud, which made my eyes go wide at the revelation. Carbonadium, I yelled out. How did you get carbonadium of all things? I couldn't understand how Toomps, of all people, got his hands on carbonadium of all things. Haha. Oh, you know, from an old friend. Toomps' smirk, which made me want to punch his teeth in. Vulture then soared down towards me. I immediately jumped to dodge the villain. I had Osborn. I had him. I was going to make him pay for what he did, for what he tried to steal from me. Wait. I know what's going on. I know Norman Osborn is kind of a weirdo, but you should be smart enough to know that this wouldn't help you get your stolen tech back. I tried to reason with Toomps. All you're doing is showing the world your face and attacking a man in bright daylight, and you're not even wearing a helmet, so one sniper and you're done. Give up. There is. I asked what exactly? Showing MY face by using MY tech to show the world that I built it with MY own hands. I didn't wear a helmet on purpose, you idiotic fool. With this, I show the world that this tech that is going to ruin Norman Osborn's life is going to be me and MY tech alone. He screamed at the top of his lungs. No point in reasoning with him at this point, it seems. He completely lost it. I then jumped and started to swing away with the Vulture right on my neck. As I swung between the buildings with speed that made me look like a blur. I need to finish this now before he gets another chance at the Osborns. I'll first draw him in and use my enhanced senses to get the timing right for my next attack. I'll aim my final attack right at the only part of his body that isn't protected by carbonadium. His head. Using my enhanced sense of hearing, smell, and sight, along with my spider sense. I sensed the vulture's presence behind me, his wings slicing through the air with a deadly precision. With a quick flick of my wrist, I shot 2 strands of webbing, one to each wall, creating a makeshift slingshot. As the vulture, seemingly unaware, closed in, I braced myself, then released the tension in my web lines, propelling myself forward with incredible force. The vulture barely had time to react as I hurtled towards him like a human missile. Caught off guard, the vulture tried to slow down and evade, but my propelling speed, along with my agility, was unmatched. With my fist, which wasn't broken, pulled back, I put just enough strength into this punch not to kill him nor give him a broken jaw. Thud. Crack. I collided with the vulture, but I noticed something was strange with that punch. It felt strange and weird compared to human flesh. Felt too solid. I soon noticed my hand hurts a bit, like a human punching a desk with enough force to hurt but not break it. As I was falling, I looked towards Adrian to be shocked by what I saw. What the F? Vulture was now wearing a mask. Where did he get the mask from? Regardless, the collision had knocked us both off balance. Even with a helmet on, Tooms seemed still to have taken some head damage, sending us both tumbling through the air. As we both plummeted, quick reflexes kicked in, and I managed to twist and flip. I shot a web line and started to swing. Vulture had also recovered and was filled with rage, speeding towards me while I was swinging away, cutting my web line. I quickly tried to shoot another web line and another one, but Vulture kept cutting them down. I tried to formulate a plan of counterattack. Thud. Before I could notice or react, I crashed into the side of a building with a resounding thud. I tried to stick to the wall and get my bearings. Vulture swooped in and slashed me on my back. I lose my grip and fall towards the ground, hitting the side of a roof, then a trash can, then into a puddle. Ugh! Vulture stood victorious, ready to continue the fight if the vulture dared to rise again. The vulture readied to finish off Spider-Man as I struggled to recover from the vulture's relentless assault. The villain loomed over me, his sinister grin betraying his intent to finish me once and for all. This game of ours has come to an end. You could never win against me, Vulture taunted, his wings poised for a final strike as I struggled to get my bearings through the pain. I closed my eyes, but before the fatal blow could be delivered, the vulture's phone buzzed with an urgent call. Ulysses Claw. With a scowl, he answered, "What do you want, Claw? Can't you see I'm busy dealing with an annoying insect?" Ulysses's voice crackled through the phone, urgency dripping from every word. "Tooms, old friend, for all the help we've been to each other, you need to listen to me. Norman and his family are about to leave the building. If you don't hurry back, then you could lose your chance of Osborn." The vulture's eyes widened in surprise, his moment of triumph forgotten as the realization sunk in. Norman, leaving? No, not until he knows suffering. I won't let it happen. With a curse, the vulture turned away from Spider-Man, his focus now on his original target. "Sorry, boy, but duty calls. This isn't over between us. Stay down if you know what's good for you." And with a powerful flap of his wings, the vulture soared into the sky, leaving Spider-Man behind as he raced to intercept Norman Osborn before he could slip away. "Adrian, wait, why are you doing this?" I screamed, but I was too tired and haggard from our earlier bout. The vulture didn't seem to pay attention to what he said. "Osborn has to pay." With that said, Adrian Toombs prepared his wings at maximum power to return to Oscorp to finish what he started. And with a powerful flap of his wings, the vulture soared into the sky, leaving me behind as he raced to intercept Norman Osborn before he could slip away. "No. Wait, I lost?" I thought between pants, as I felt the slash on my back twist into unbearable pain due to the adrenaline wearing off. "I need to go after him." More blood leaks from my back as I start having a major headache. My vision then starts to blur. Oh no, losing conscious. I then faint to the ground as the world around me goes black as blood continues to leak from my back.
No,
Not yet. I can't lose.
I'm.
Spider.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.